You have three of us today that are going to be talking to you about Win the Buyer. We're moving into the fourth pillar of the Ignite series, which is the transaction. So we're moving over into that. You finished up the real estate expert section, the lead gen section. I was with you yesterday with Jen Bovey, and we did the last section of lead follow-up, which was qualify potential buyers and sellers. Today, we're going into the transaction with Win the Buyer. So I would like for us to introduce ourselves to you as your hosts today. We encourage interaction. If you have questions, raise your hand or take yourself off mute. We want this to be a conversation. Again, if you can come on camera, would love to see you. I'm gonna have Sam start, and Sam can just introduce himself. He is my co-host today. So go ahead, Sam, it's all you.
Can everyone hear me?
Can you hear him? Okay, hold on. Let me go on. We're in the same room. You're just gonna come. Okay, he's gonna come closer to me.
It's on mute now.
You stay here. Come over here. Sam and I are in the same office. So if we're both off of mute, then we're going to echo. It's going to just be awkward for everybody. So you're going to have two of us on the screen together.
Is this any better?
Can you hear him?
I can hear.
Okay.
Yes, you're good, Sam. Go ahead.
You're going to have to shout.
You say it loudly, like Rhonda told us yesterday when you were reading out loud. Express yourself.
I'm Sam Alpern. I just passed 5 years in the business. Also in Rhode Island. Rhonda and I are business partners in our sales team, the Alpern and Messenborg group. I had previously been for the last 2 years productivity coach for our market center. However, in July, decided to step down to focus on the sales team and get back into production. So thank you for all having me here today.
And Teresa.
Good morning. Some of you guys have probably already heard me before. I'm from Greater Portland, Maine, and I am newer to the MCTT role, which is the Market Center Tech Trainer, which, we go over all the command and everything of all our platforms. I have also been an agent at one time, and I've been with Keller Williams since 2014.
Great. And many of you know me from yesterday. Rhonda Messenborg. I am the former team leader at Keller Williams Coastal in Rhode Island. And like Sam said, we stepped back into production together just as of September 1st to focus on our team and our team growth. So we're super excited though to be here and to be your host today and to continue teaching Ignite in the Market Center because it's one of our favorite Keller Williams classes and so beneficial for all of you to take as new associates, as seasoned associates. It's all just great information, great reminders. And I love what they've done with the program since launching it in September. So let's just jump right in. Teresa, are you okay running the slides or do you want me to run them?
Go ahead and run them. I haven't run the slides yet for
Okay.
Zoom. I've just kind of monitored the chat and if anybody needed me to say anything.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great. So just give me one moment here and I'm going to bring them up. Okay, so let me just get back. Oh, close the preview and then let me share my screen, do the slideshow. Okay, here we go. Share my screen. All right, let me get back to the slides. Okay, can everybody see my screen okay? Give me just a thumbs up if you can see it.
It's blank right
It's a
now.
white screen.
It's a blank screen right now.
Yeah, white.
Oh, okay,
sorry.
got it. Yep. Okay, hold on. Let me get down through my slides because I have some hidden slides here. Okay, so you should be able to see that slide. Yeah?
No, not at the moment.
Oh, all right, hold on.
No,
How about that? Can you see that?
no,
Still
no.
Still
white.
can't see that, really. What is going on?
I think you're using your whiteboard. Are you on your whiteboard?
No, let me try again. Hold on.
Okay.
New share. Let me see here. Let's see. Okay, maybe this is better. Windows Manager. Let me just find just want to share my desktop so it shares. Okay, here we go. I think I got it now. My goodness. Okay, now can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Other whiteboard.
It's still the whiteboard. What's going on? I'm not picking whiteboard. All right, let's see.
Ah, there we
There
go.
you go.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, we got it. We got it. We got it. Okay, terrific. We're good. Thanks, Sam. Sam actually moved himself to another room so he can come off of mute and we can both chit chat. Okay, so as I mentioned, we are entering into the transaction 14 is our session today, Win the Buyer. You have finished up lead generation, lead follow-up, and the transaction. One thing I would love to hear from everybody before we move on today is so far through all of those 3 sessions that those 3 categories that you have now finished up. I would love to know what was your favorite session that really gave you like a really big aha and something that makes you super excited to implement into your business.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in front of everybody that's trying to jump in. Oh my God, I'm gonna say the last couple, the one from yesterday and previous, it was a lot of participation. I liked hearing from a lot of the other agents as well as you guys as the team leaders. And I say that because it was the one I took the most notes on. So that's why I'm saying that. I was able to kind of get a script on how to make those initial contacts all within lead generation and the lead
Great.
follow-up. So it seems to follow this pattern that really was able to assist me. I'm not afraid of talking to people, but I'm an A type, so I have to have a way, a procedure in order to do things. And literally he just gave it to me. So it was
Love
great.
it. Wonderful.
And then Jason, yep, I called someone and said happy birthday, but it was my
Love
cousin.
that.
I know I said I wasn't going to sing, but I did sing.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, that was awesome that Jason shared that with us. I love that. Love that. Okay, someone else. What so far out of all of the sessions have you absolutely loved learning about and something that you're excited to implement into your business? I want one more before we move on.
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed
Michael?
I enjoyed the session the other day. I think it was Brian from Burlington, Vermont. He kept apologizing for straying from the subject matter, but he had a lot of personal stories that were very inspirational. And he kept saying, well, I'm straying a little bit, but I really enjoyed that. He was very inspirational. I didn't get to tell him the other day my microphone was off, so.
Awesome. And that's just the thing, one of the really amazing things about Ignite instructors and even agents that are on here, even you as newer agents, it's really great to share your stories and your experiences. We have experiences every single day in real estate. Every day is different and we learn from each other through our experiences. And it's really magical when agents come together and are willing to share their stories and they're willing to work for them, for others to implement. And that's one of the things about the culture is the sharing. And Sam, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
No, but I do have a quick question for the group. On my side, the Zoom is skipping a little bit. Is it skipping on your end for Rhonda as well?
Yeah. Okay. I did see a little blip of my internet is unstable. So hopefully that will rectify itself.
Yeah, Rhonda, if that continues, we'll just have you come in the conference room with me.
Okay. That sounds good. Yeah. Just if it is skipping, Sam, just speak up and I'll zip over there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to resume my share here. I think we got the technology down. So here's our agenda for the day. We are going to talk about A buyers. Yesterday, we talked about A, B, and C buyers and sellers. Today, we're only talking about buyers. Can somebody tell me what is an A buyer?
Someone who wants to buy now.
Yep, someone who wants to buy between now 0 to 14 days is an A buyer. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, because those are the people that are ready to transact. So we're going to talk about our A buyers, how we're going to get the appointment with them, how we're going to prepare for this buyer consultation, actually conducting the buyer consultation, getting the signed buyer agreement, and then we're going to recap and talk about AHAs, and then we're going to leave you about 11:30 or so, and then it'll be time for us all to get into our daily success system, and we'll talk about that. Okay, who would like to read this quote for us?
I'll read it.
Anybody? Okay, go for it. Nice and loud.
The right approach to close for a meeting is the only approach. Just ask for it.
And can you do it one more time? We always like everybody to read it twice. So the first time you read it, and then the second time it really sinks in. So can you read it one more time?
Sure. The right approach to close for a meeting is the only approach. Just ask for it.
Love that. What does that mean to everybody, right? It's sometimes the hardest thing to do is to actually ask somebody for the appointment. And sometimes it's the one question we forget to ask when we're on the phone first with somebody, but it's really the only way to get the appointment is you have to ask for it.
When I do consulting, because I have a background in business consulting,
Mhm.
and I volunteer with the SCORE organization. And so when I meet with my clients, I tell them, your clients don't know what they don't know until you ask them.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Love that, Melissa. Anyone else? Anything else? All right. So let's talk about the A buyers. So we already just said an A buyer is somebody who is ready to transact now. There's somebody who is in the world of buyers. You speak with somebody and say, I'm just calling. I just was, wanted to ask you. I'm Rhonda Messenborg with Keller Williams. Are you thinking of buying, selling, or investing in real estate at that time? Right? That's usually the question that we like to ask somebody. Somebody says to you, oh, you know what? Actually, we are in the process of looking for a new home. We're renting right now. We're thinking we want to buy something. Yesterday, I was given a referral yesterday for our team, a young girl who is currently renting, looking to buy a condo. So got on the phone with her. Obviously, it was a nice, warm referral call. So the call just basically went with me introducing myself and saying, so-and-so gave me your contact information. It's now a good time to have a quick conversation. I understand that you are ready to purchase a condo. Your lease is ending in the next couple of months, right? We were able to have that conversation. She is an A buyer for us. So she is going to go into our CRM, into Command today, as a buyer, so we can now start the process, right? We can now start talking about getting a pre-approval, and we can start talking about the buyer consultation that we're going to sit down and formally have with her to enter into a buyer agreement with her. So in looking at this, so somebody tell me, in looking at this this diagram here on the page, what does it say to you? Do you understand how the contacts go through the funnel? They start as a lead and they come into a contact, and then they're going to turn into an actual client. Does anyone have any comments or questions on this? What is the one word that keeps showing up a couple of times in that funnel?
Relationship.
Relationship.
Yes, exactly. Relationships. So under a lead, when you do that lead capture and you enter them into your database and they become a lead, you are starting to form that relationship. And then as they funnel over to become a contact where they're going to actually turn into a client, it says strengthen existing relationships. And we talked about how to do that, right? Somebody may not start out as an A buyer. I might have called this girl yesterday and she might have said, I am looking to buy a house within the next 9 to 12 months. What kind of buyer would she have been if it was 9 to 12 months out?
C buyer.
She would have been a C buyer, exactly. And so what would have happened, right? We talked about that yesterday for our B and our C clients. So we put them, they still go into command and we're going to put them on some sort of smart plan. So that way we're staying in touch. So an A buyer might not just be somebody you have a conversation with today who says, hey, I'm looking to do a transaction. I'm ready to go now. They might start out as a B buyer or a C buyer, and they're going to work their way into becoming an A buyer on your list. So on that bottom, right? So lead capture, you put them in your database. Lead, you form the relationship, you strengthen the relationship. Down under 3, prepare contacts for conversion. Interactive and needs-based offerings. And that is then down where it's going to turn into that A buyer that we're going to be talking about. And then after that transaction's over, they're going to become a referral source for you. And so it's just going to keep repeating itself. Any other thoughts on that? Anyone, nothing to add? Okay. All right, we'll go on to the next slide. Okay, so then let's talk about the buyer service cycle. So
Rhonda, I have something I want to add real quickly.
Oh, great. Yeah. Sorry, Sam. I can't see anybody when I'm sharing my screen. So I apologize if you put your hand up and I didn't see you.
I'll just shout out next time.
Okay, good.
Can you go back one slide?
Oh, gosh. Yes. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Oh, no, hold on. There we are.
So speaking about our database overall, I'm curious that we have 28 of us on the call right now. How many people are using opportunities for something other than just commission statements and compliance for the market center? I'm trying to scroll through right now. If there's anyone that is, and your hand is up right now, just do the virtual hand up so we can see it. So I know Rhonda and I do with our team.
Yeah, oh, sorry, I should have my hand up.
Required to.
The question completely stumped me. Can you explain?
Yep. So the opportunity section of command. Are you familiar? Is the group familiar with what that is? If not, I can give a quick overview.
Yes, I know what it's not like Jason, but I know what opportunities are. And
I'll give a quick overview along with putting a bit of my definition and how we operate it within our team. This graphic is showing the life cycle of a lead to a client, and then it says in the bottom the referral loop. That loop is going to continue because they're going to remain in your database, and then they're going to theoretically become a lead again. Somebody that is 0 to 12 months out at some point of doing a real estate transaction, a B, or a C prospect on the buyer or seller side. The way that we operate opportunities, so opportunities is a almost like a health score for your business. So we have within command, we have the contact section, we have smart plans, we have opportunities, we have our website. Opportunities is just one of the many functions that we have. When we are working on a transaction, that is how we're able to get to DocuSign through command. That's how we're able to submit our commission statements to our market centers and all of the transaction documents for compliance purposes in order to get paid. I think one use case of opportunities that is not used frequently enough is the Cultivate section. And that's where you're going to be able to monitor who these A, B, and C prospects are for you on the buyer, seller, or rental side. So that Cultivate, it has the appointment stage, it has the active, under contract, and then the close phase. I believe that's 5 different phases that there are, but within each of them, there's subcategories. So in that Cultivate phase, I would just really encourage everyone to make sure that they are using that to monitor who these A, B, and C clients are. That way you're always understanding what your pipeline is looking like for the next 12 months in your business and where there maybe is a bit of a shortcoming. If I have 5 buyers that I'm actively working with right now, and I put 5 buyers under contract, I feel great. And they close 2 months from now, I feel ecstatic. I just made 50 grand. in a 1 week period. And then I look at my business and I say, well, I haven't closed anything in the last 6 months, and I don't have a single prospect for the next 6 months. So that means that I needed to make sure I was doing a much stronger job of building up future business. So what I want is that I have 5 active buyers, and I have probably at least 10 of these A buyers that could become an active buyer at some point after buyer consultation. And I have 15 people in that B category and 30 people in that C category. So opportunities is going to allow you to be able to very quickly see that. And it even has revenue projections for you. There's a lot that you can build upon on it, but at a baseline, I would just keep watch of it. In the Cultivate phase, there are 3 different sections: hot, nurture, and watch. And I would refer to those as the A, B, and C categories. Hot is the A category, nurture is the B category, and watch is that C category. Now you're always going to know what your pipeline is looking like for the next year. And you can make sure that you're prioritizing those people as you're having your lead generation efforts throughout the day.
Okay, so I guess now to answer your question, I have them in there. They move along, but depending on what I change, but I don't have a lot of people in there. But so that was a good explanation. It sounds like maybe I should be looking at it a little differently.
Yeah, I would have that be part of your day-to-day, that you have a goal of how many people over the course of this week am I looking to add to opportunities. That means not just having a goal for how many people are being added to your database, but also having a goal for how many people are looking to do a transaction in the next year.
Mhm.
Because that's going to give you some clarity on where your business stands right now, especially in those moments that you're either riding really high, but you don't have a lot coming up for the next couple of months, or the opposite direction, that you feel like you've been working your ass off and nothing is coming together, but you have 50 people that are ready to go come January.
Mhm.
Gives you that light to be able to push through a little bit.
Okay.
Great. And for the daily success plan, how many contacts should we all be adding to our database on a daily basis? 10, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sam. That was awesome. I know we talked a little bit about opportunities yesterday, and Sam just, elaborated on that. And, definitely, like we had said, look into using it, go to a command class on opportunities if you do the 66-day challenge through command, it just chunks all of command down into 20-minute to 40-minute little tidbits. And it really is helpful. You can just learn it bit by bit, but opportunities is one of the most powerful sections of command.
I think most of us are kind of struggling with with command. I know I am, and I've been taking some classes on on how to manage it more efficiently. And thank you. I forget who was doing the. I think it was Sam that was just going how he did it. And even though I worked with databases before, it's just having a little issues with it. And I appreciate you guys are bringing some of the key points on command.
Yeah, absolutely. And Roland, that's something that many agents are always struggling with, regardless of their time frame in the business. And we obviously don't want today's discussion to be fully command and technology based. We want to speak about action items within buyers, but I do want to bring up, in my perspective, there are 4 main things that anyone that's within really their first year in the business should be focusing on when it comes to their database. Number 1 is making sure that their contacts are in there and that they have the contact information for those people, or are obtaining the contact information that they're missing for those individuals. Number 2 is that they have notes on how all of those conversations have gone, so you don't have to manually remember that over the course of time. Especially, think about it. Ellen mentioned that we are supposed to be adding 10 contacts a day to our database. Well, over the course of the year, that's going to be about 2,000 people, or at least 1,500 people that you're adding to your database if you're working full time. So it's going to be very difficult a year from now to remember everything. It might be easy right now if you have 30 people in there. It's not going to be easy 2 months from now. So number 2 is having notes on all those conversations. Number 3 is having a SMART plan, or really having a follow-up task for when you are reaching back out to them, ideally in the form of a SMART plan. So you don't have to manually be thinking each time, when should I reach out to this person? You have a system that you're following. And then number 4, if and only if you've gotten through those first 3, is when I would start focusing on that opportunity section. So you can start managing your pipeline. Everything else that Command can do is great. Not if you're not doing those 4 things, and not if you're not doing the first 3 first. So just take bite-sized pieces of it, because it can be overwhelming if you try to tackle everything at once, and paralyzing to a certain degree for your business.
And also too, I mean, you can block time on your calendar. I'm sure that in other Ignite sessions that you've learned about time blocking, you can time block your calendar on a weekly basis as well, to schedule time for you to spend time on your business and working on your business. So I know for us in our team, we schedule a half an hour every Tuesday, or every other Tuesday for us, just to go through Command and look at this point at our SMART plans. And you make sure that we have our clients, we have the SMART plan set up that we feel will best serve our clients and getting valued information to them. So don't be afraid to take a block of time in your calendar, 30 minutes a week, 30 minutes every couple of weeks, to just spend time looking at Command and making sure that you're using it to the best of its ability. And like Sam said, to just spend time thinking about it and organizing it, right? You should be using it every day as you are on the phone with people. Go in and just put the note in. If you leave Command up on the screen, you hang up the phone, take a couple minutes, write a quick note. If you're using a notebook and you're just jotting stuff down, at least at the end of the day, go back and enter things in. If you let it go too much longer than that, you're just never going to get to it. It's going to all of a sudden become a very inundating task that you have to go in and enter 20 contacts and 20 notes and all of this, that pretty soon you're going to have a notebook full of information, but it's not going to be in Command where it can best serve you because it's automated. So Ellen, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I was just going to offer something to Roland. What I first did was I utilized my oldest daughter and added her in, put her in as an opportunity, set her up on almost poor thing. Any the thing I can think of to get it started. Well, good thing is her and her husband, they're buying a house. So she said, she kept looking at it and looking at it, but I used her as like a guinea pig to, does this work? Did you get this? What I also notice is, because she's my child, I see our emails, like our personal emails. For whatever reason, my phone number is on her electric bill. So I get it and then I forward it to her, and I can see that in Command. Is there any way we can, I guess because we're communicating, I can see text messages, I can see emails, and it pops up that we did this, that we did that. So she's on, I have her on a 36 touch. Today we are due for a meeting, which we will have. She has her approval letter, so we're going to narrow her down because she wants me to go all over the place. And I'm like, nope.
Love that. Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But
That's
Roland,
great.
find someone you can, if you want, we can play. I'm in Command, so you can make me or find someone here that you're close to that you could utilize. Anybody want to utilize or play with Command and you don't have someone to put in there? I'm volunteering. Let me be your 36 touch or 19 touch. I'll reply. We can do phone calls if it's easier. I found it easy to do it that way.
Great. Love that, Ellen. Thank you.
I'll do that, Ellen. I'll definitely email you because I need a little friend like that. So I'm going to challenge you with that for sure.
Okay. It's coming.
There's the magic happening. There is the magic. Love
Thank you,
it.
Helen. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, let's go on here to the next slide. So this is our 7-step buyer service cycle. So number 1, lead to appointment, right? We kind of like talking about this a little bit in our agenda today. Number 2, right? So ask for the appointment. You have a lead. Remember to ask for the appointment. That's the only way we're going to get an appointment, is you have to ask them for it. Schedule the appointment. Now you're going to prepare for the buyer consultation. So that way, when you go to the buyer consultation, you're prepared, right? You have something, you're going to bring the buyer agreement with you. You're going to maybe bring some market data with you so you can have a conversation. What's might you? It was something that we went over yesterday. What form might you want to have? You probably want to have a folder for each of your buyers, but what form might you want to bring with you that you did yesterday? Anybody remember? I can't see any of you, so if you're just shout it out.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so as you prepare for the buyer consultation appointment, what might you want to bring with you? Right? You might want to bring some market data with you. You're going to want to make sure you have a copy of the buyer agreement with you. But what other piece of paper that you may have already filled out with that lead do you want to bring with you to that appointment?
Oh, would you have your sheet, all your questions, your 500 questions?
Yes, your buyer lead form. Make sure your buyer lead form is in the file. That was everything, all those questions you asked them about their time frame and maybe what their new home in their mind looks like, right? It was that when you were on the phone with them before you're asking for the appointment, let me ask you some questions so that I can qualify you to make sure that you are an A buyer, so then I can ask you for the appointment. So bring that with you. So then as part of your buyer consultation, you can say, hey, you know what? Let's review what your desired features are in your home. And you have all of that information right in front of you. You remember everything, because you know what? If you were on the phone with 10 people the day before and you filled out 5 of those buyer forms, may not remember the person you're sitting with and having that consultation with, you might not remember everything about them that you filled out on that form. So make sure you have that with you so you can and say, hey, I'm going to go back and just reference all of this and make sure I have all of this information right. Buyers love that. Sellers love that, right? They love it that you took notes and that you care enough to go back through their information and make sure that there was nothing left. They didn't leave anything out. So number 3, there's the buyer consultation itself. So now you are at the appointment, you're reviewing all of those facts that you took down by asking a lot of questions the day before or whenever you were on the phone with them, right? You're going to talk about the buyer agreement and what that buyer agreement means for your working relationship. It's going to define how you're going to work together. Number 4 is you're going to actually start looking for a home. You're going to send them properties that are online. You're going to give them a link to your app so they can install your app and look for homes online. You're going to go out and schedule showings. When you find the right house for them, you're going to make an offer and have the opportunity to negotiate for that buyer on their behalf. In the last year, the negotiate part was actually a little hard because with multiple offers, there was very little negotiation that actually happened because it was usually a case of there's 12 offers and you just have to put in your highest and best. So there was very little opportunity to actually be able to negotiate. We're getting back to that. So it's also important for us as realtors to make sure that we are, you know, as when we talk about the enrichments at the end of class as part of your success system, you know, take a negotiation class. So that way you can learn how to be a collaborator and negotiator on behalf of your clients. Once you go under contract, then you're going to, you're going to care for that transaction from the time you go under contract into closing and everything that has to get done in between, right? I know that we are in different states here. So depending on your state and what your transaction process looks like, you're going to care for that transaction, make sure you're not missing deadlines, making sure that everything is accounted for. You may, for the buyer, if you're representing a buyer, you may be the liaison between the lender and the attorney. So there's a lot of things that will go into actually handling that transaction. And then your post-close system. So after closing, we're not going to just forget about that buyer and say like, okay, we sold the house, now we're done. They are going to go, right? If you go back to the funnel, right down here at the bottom, now they're going to actually go back in again. And once they're closed, they actually become a lead again for us. And they're going to become a referral source for us. So comments on that, questions? Anyone?
What are they called when once they go back from the cycle? So they're no, I mean, they're not really, they're not an A, they're not an B. So who are they now? Once we close with them, then they're going back to that cycle. Now they're a referral source, right?
They're a referral source. They're also a past client. You know, they, if you wanted to classify them as something, right? They, you know, depending on if maybe they were going to buy another property right away, an investment property, but they're going to go into the C category, right? Because they're not, obviously they're going to be more than 6 months out, right? Probably maybe years out, unless they are investors who are always looking for new properties. Use your, as you know, Sam was talking about command, another really powerful tool is, you know, using tags and tagging them as a past client. So that way,
That's what I wanted to know. Like, what should we tag them as when they get to that point? So what's
you tag them as a past client. So that way those tags work for you. So that way, you know who, so the way we have in the past used our tags, is I had always, in my previous, even before Sam and I were a team, I would tag my buyers and sellers as if they were a potential or an active buyer, they had it would said buyer tag. If they were an active or a future seller, there was indicate, even if they were an A, B, or C seller, they would have seller tag. If once we closed, then I changed that tag to bought. So that way I knew then they bought something from me. And then I also gave them a past client tag. And then same thing on the sold. And sometimes, because sometimes before somebody can buy something, they have to sell something, they're going to have multiple tags. They might be a buyer and a seller, which will then become a bought and a sold, right? But they will be a past client. So if you're looking to maybe do an event for your past clients, you can easily pull them out by past client. You can pull somebody out if you want just your past clients that sold, you want to know who those sellers are. So that way the tags just allow you to be able to pull those contacts, get a subset of your contacts out of your database. So it's great to use them, because you might, if you don't tag anybody, if you don't use tags, then, you know, you might I might pull you up, Ellen, in my database. And I'm going to have to go and be like, oh, did she buy something or did I sell her house? I can't really remember. And I probably can find it if I look in my emails and find some past emails from us, but it just makes it a little bit easier.
Or your timeline, because if they're in there.
That's right. You can look through your timeline. Yeah, you can. There's another way to find it, but yet if you're looking for, I want to know everybody that transacted with me, you know, in my lifetime being a realtor, the super quick, easy way to do it is to be able to just pull them up by a tag.
Yeah, the tag is definitely the best one. So you can also be able to export those people if you ever want to do a bulk mailer to them, or be able to group invite them. Right now, something to consider, and in general, I think this is something to consider, but especially right now with interest rates the way they are, any of your buyers that are closing, mark what their interest rate is, and you can get that from the closing disclosure, or you can get that from their lender or from them as well. Put down what their interest rate is, because right now, interest rates have just shot up to about 6.5%. Well, in 2 years, if they're at 4.25%, which I'm not saying they will be, but if they were at some point in time, I want to be able to reach out to all of my clients and contacts that I know have higher interest rates and let them know that they should consider refinancing and see if they need a referral to a lender, because that's just value that I'm able to offer long-term to them. I would also say, Rhonda, can you go back real quickly? Because I do have an aha that I want to bring up.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go up one slide.
Yeah, so
Okay.
this numbers 1 and 7, I would really challenge everybody to, although we're looking at past client as a tag in command, a simple way to see who has transacted with us, looking at number 7, figure out how you can have that type of system, treat them as a lifelong client. That it's not only you're a client when you're transacting, you're someone that I'm offering value to long-term. So now number 1 can be yourself as a repeat, or it can be referrals. So it's not constantly leads that we're going after from, third-party vendors or from prospecting, completely from scratch. It's repeat and referral business that is happening over time. That might even be, this could be an example of a graphic that you decide to put in your buyer consultation packet. That number 1 is referrals and repeat clients, because they don't need to see leads to appointments. They see referrals and repeat clients. They see number 7, lifelong value. And now they know from the very beginning when you're meeting with them that after we do a great job and we close, you're going to continue to receive value from me for the, forever, for as long as we want to work together. And then you're going to work with me again 5 years from now. And in the interim, you're going to be referring all of your friends and family to me because you really enjoy working with me. So it's setting the example for them very early on. The other thing I want to say when it comes to that part number 7 is I just had one of my best friends and his fiance purchase a home with us yesterday. So they closed yesterday. 2 years and 3 days ago, he closed on his first condo with us. So in the last 2 years, we've made about $15,000 in commissions. If I break that down into a monthly payment, that's $625 a month. What would I be focusing on in that number 7 section if he was actually paying me $625 a month rather than me just receiving a commission over time? So that's what we need to focus on in terms of being able to get the repeat and referral customers, because you should be offering value not only during the transaction process.
That's a great way to look at it too. Any other ahas before we move on to the next section?
I have a question.
Sure.
So I'm super excited, but half asleep. Sorry. I'm going to be doing a first time home buyer workshop at my market center in about a
Great.
month. All right.
Love that. Love that,
And so
Valerie.
I'm in the beginning stages of, okay, who in my sphere? So I have about, believe it or not, 50 people, right? Young nephews or whatever. Yeah. Okay. My question is, I don't have their emails. I just have their names. Should I not put them in command or should I?
Do you have their phone number, Valerie? Do you have anything other than what their name is?
Some of them I just have addresses. Some I might just have the phone number. It's like, I don't want to inundate command with maybe stuff that's not going to go anywhere. Should I wait until I have a touch and then put them in? That's my question.
You can make it part of your task list should be to get the rest of the contact information. We all have people in our command systems that we don't have full contact information for. So I would put them in command, and I would even tag, so you can put them in, if you have them in a spreadsheet form, you can import the spreadsheet, but I would put them in and tag them with something that says like needs more info, or tag them with, some sort of something. So that way, again, you can pull them back out and have that list. And that can be your calls one day. That can be what you're spending on calling and reaching out to them, and whatever you have. If you have their email address, email them and say, hey, I would love to, we know each other from here. I would love to be able to have a conversation with you. Do you mind sharing your most current phone number with me? If you have their phone number, call them or send them a text message. We talked yesterday about sending video text messages, which is great, right? And just make that your focus is getting complete contact information for them. If you only have their name, see if you can find them on social media. See if you can find them on Facebook. Send them a direct message on Facebook and say, hey, you know what? I would really love to talk to you. I have this seminar coming up and I really would love to invite you to it. How do I reach you? How can I get it to you? Can I have your email address? Can I have your cell phone number? So I would just make it a point to try to fill those blanks in. We have our team administrator do that for us from time to time. She will go through our database and she will go through and fill in some of those holes with making sure that, because even after 2 years, people sometimes get a new cell phone and they get a new email address. Sometimes that information just becomes outdated. So if you're always talking to those people, it's always good to say, hey, you know what? I'm just updating my records. Can you just tell me if I just want to make sure I have your current phone number and email address?
So it's okay to put them in command, even though I haven't had any real estate talk with them at all.
Yes.
It's just I want to talk to them, but I'm not sure if they're even going to answer. And then if they're not interested, do I just delete them?
No,
Archive them? No? Okay.
they're not interested today.
Okay.
Unless they say no, and please don't call me again, right? Then you
Yeah.
might want to take them out of your database. But if they don't say that, then they're just a not now. They're not a no.
Yeah,
Okay.
and this is just a different, this is a subset of people. Valerie, you mentioned they're in your sphere.
Yeah.
And maybe they're, friends of yours, it's their kids or their nieces and nephews, whatever it may be, your neighbors, but they're in your sphere. So they need to be in there if they're in your sphere.
Okay.
If random person, George Butler in your town, their name, but you have no set of contact information, and you have no relationship, then you just know somebody's name. You may want to build a relationship with George and get his contact information over time, but then you'd add him to command. But these people are in your sphere, and you have some piece of critical information about them too beyond that, because you mentioned for most of them, you have either their address or their phone number. Now you just need to fill in the blanks.
Okay, great. Thank you.
They absolutely need to be in there. And the people that are not wanting to do something right now, we follow up with them quarterly, because they're not an A, B, or C prospect, but we still should be following up with them because they're just not wanting to do something today.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Marion, I saw you had your hand up. Go ahead, Marion. And then Ellen, I think you wanted to talk as well. Get to you in one moment.
Oh, no, yes, I want to add that the hack for me is to have the buyer lead sheet. And that's what I actually learned yesterday, but today, like I completely forgot. So it's not just to, brush up again.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All of these sessions, just brush up on the one before. So yes, absolutely. And keep your participant handbook by you once you're done with all of it, because you can review it at any time. And these are just great reminders. That's why Ignite is great to take again and again, because you're just going to keep being reminded of these tactics. I love that. Okay, Ellen, did you have something? And then we're going to move on to the next session. So we're not here till 5 o'clock today.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be quiet. I just had Valerie, I was listening to Valerie and she was saying, you started off saying that you were going to do a buyer's presentation. And then you said you have these nephews and these people, are they coming? The goal is to invite them so that they can hear?
Yeah, so I actually, we have an affiliate with a lender in our office, so he's gonna do it with me. It's the first time home buyer workshop. And as much as I'm terrified, because I don't really know a lot, I'm gonna learn so much because I'm throwing myself into the fire,
Love it.
and I'm gonna do a seminar for sort of friends and family and whoever else wants to come. And we're just gonna see how it goes.
Okay, one of the things that stuck out to me that you said was, you said nephews, and men, please take no offense to what I'm about to say. You've tried offering food. I bet you, if you say, well, I would love to invite you guys, we're gonna have food, but I need your email, and oh my goodness, and they're going to, that's a good way to get them to fill in those blanks for you and come to the seminar. And they said out of every 10, you're gonna get 1, 2 or so invited. Food.
Thank
Your
you.
lender, yes, and your lender will pay for that. Your lender would be happy to sponsor and handle the food for you, most likely. So yeah, that's great. Love that, Ellen. Okay, so Sam is going to take us through the next section, which is getting the appointment. So Sam, I'll run the slides for you. You just tell me when you need me to go to the next slide.
Okay. So for this section, we're going to be figuring out exactly, we have these buyers. We did what Gary mentioned earlier of, or through getting the appointment, we're going to be doing what Gary mentioned earlier of just asking for it. I've seen time and time again, agents new and experienced being on the phone, and I'll be listening in and coaching them through their scripts and whatnot a little bit. And it's funny to recognize, even when you can't hear the prospect on the other end, when they're essentially begging for the appointment, but the prospect's not going to ask for the appointment. You need to ask for the appointment. So that's going to be the primary piece here when it comes to getting the appointment. It's really just looking at asking for it. From there, we need to be able to win on the appointment to win the business. But number one thing to always keep in mind, don't be afraid to ask. You need to ask because they won't. All right, Rhonda, let's go to the next one. So how we're going to be able to convert these, and I am going to read a little bit off of this, but we'll break it down a little bit as well and ask any questions that you have. Number one is going to be responding to inquiries right away. And what that means is speed to lead, if anyone has heard that before. So speed to lead is critical. The best time to be able to speak with a prospect is within 5 minutes, and ideally within 30 seconds of that inquiry coming in. What that doesn't mean is that if it is beyond 5 minutes, you don't reach out to them. It absolutely does not mean that, and I've seen many people treat it that way in the past. It also doesn't mean that because you can reach out to them beyond 5 minutes that you just wait until later today to do it. When a lead comes in, unless you're actively with a client in the moment or you're on the phone with a client, you respond to that lead right away. If you're writing an offer, respond to the lead. You know, if the offer, it's 9:56, the deadline is 10:15, at that point, I'm going to finish up this offer that we're putting together. But in almost every situation, that's not the case. So speed to lead is critical, regardless of what avenue and source those leads are coming in from. Number two, getting valid and complete contact information, saving it to command and creating an opportunity. So that's basically the 4 steps that I spoke about earlier. Being able to have all the contact info, put notes on what the conversation was like. That way you have an understanding of what their objectives are and you're able to qualify them a little bit. I'll give an acronym in a moment for how to qualify people that you can just always remember. Getting them in command, because you're not going to remember long-term if they're not actually in there. Having the task reminder, a smart plan to reach out to them in the future. And then if you're completing all that, throw them in opportunities, because you need to make sure that you're monitoring your pipeline. The acronym that I would use is LP MAMA, LPMAMA. Has anyone heard that before?
I haven't heard that before. Do tell. Do tell.
LP MAMA is location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, appointment. So I've got Rhonda on the phone and I'm qualifying her. This is the breakdown of how I qualify a buyer. I'm asking Rhonda, oh, great. You know, what area of town are you looking in? What attracts you to that area? You know, get a couple of layers deep. And now I find out that they really want to move there for the school district for their kids that are about to turn 5. So their urgency is going to be fairly high because they don't want their kids in that school district sooner than later. Price, what price point are you looking in? What type of property are you looking for? Are you okay with something that needs a little bit of work? You know, you can throw the condition piece in here a little bit, because that's going to help you qualify what price they actually need to be in beyond what they're saying. And if they can afford that, we'll get to that in a moment. Motivation. So if I don't already know that Rhonda's really wanting to be there for her kids in the school district, I want to learn the reasons why she's considering making this move. Agent, Rhonda, are you already working with somebody? If she has an exclusive buyer representation agreement, I don't want to be putting, you know, I don't want to be doing something that, number one, is going against the ethics of them already working with someone contractually. And number two, I just don't want to be wasting my time. If Rhonda tells me, oh, well, we're working with 7 different agents and whoever finds the house is the one we're going to work with, that's not an A buyer. That's someone I can follow up with long-term if I choose to, but I work with my clients exclusively. I expect them to do the same. Mortgage, have you gotten pre-approved yet? Are you thinking of purchasing this property in cash, or are you going to be financing? What type of financing are you thinking of? Here are the different options that you have. Have you spoken to a lender yet? Here are 3 referrals that you can speak with. And then appointment. Well, Rhonda, listen, this has been a great conversation. I'd love if we can get together for a cup of coffee, maybe this Saturday at 10 o'clock. Would that work well for you? So that's LP Mama. All right, number 3, determine their motivation to buy so you can speak to it. That is the qualifying phase. And being able to constantly keep their motivation at the forefront of this conversation, leading to the appointment, of the appointment itself, and then of the buying process, because their emotions are going to run really high. That's why we need to, and really low, we need to be able to keep everything relative to what they're actually looking to achieve. That's why we need to know their goals. And that's why we need transparency on both sides too throughout this whole process. They're not working against us by showing us their cards. They're empowering us to consult with them and advise them at the highest of our abilities, whether it's a buyer or a seller. So make sure your prospects understand that if they're keeping some things from you, you're not going to be able to do the best you can for them. And number 4, set an appointment. Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay. Number 4, set an appointment with a time and date for as soon as possible. And when I do this, I give them 2 options that work ideally for my calendar, not for theirs. I don't say, Rhonda, I've really enjoyed this conversation. When's a good time for us to meet? I'd say, Rhonda, I really enjoyed this conversation. I'd love for us to get together, discuss it a little bit more. How is tomorrow at 3:30? I also can do Saturday at 11. Which of those work better for you? And Rhonda says, oh, I can't do either of those. Can you do Sunday? And maybe I'm really looking to keep Sunday for my family. So I say, do you have any other time on Saturday? Would you be able to do something maybe in the afternoon? And she says, yes. So I'm able to keep it ideally to my calendar, not to hers. Especially in Rhode Island in the summertime, this one comes up a lot for me. If I say, when's a good time for you? And she says Saturday at 11. Well, I want to be on the beach Saturday at 11. So now I'm having to backtrack the whole time. If I instead say that I can do these 2 days and times during the week, then I'm able to reserve my weekends to myself or to my clients that I need to be looking around with as much as possible instead of having to backtrack. And then ultimately, we all understand that we're in a more or less 24/7 business. So at certain times, we do have to concede on what that perfect schedule would be, but you'll never get anywhere close to it if you're constantly letting other people dictate your calendar. All right, we can go to the next one. Any questions? Jason.
On the last slide, can we go back one?
Sure.
Line 1, respond right away to lead inquiries. So for those of us who are realtors and other things as well, when a lead comes in, as far as lead capture goes, like sometimes like you'll go onto a page and you'll plug in your information, you'll get an immediate reply. It's not me. It's using the tech to do that. Do we have anything at KW that can help me with responding rapidly to an inquiry so that I can be otherwise engaged and then circle back once I have, because sometimes, is there like a form they could put their information into that we can utilize to then reach out, hey, say, hey, I got I saw that you're interested in ABC and so on and so forth, and follow up with the conversation. But we get back to them right away with tech, but then we follow up and circle back around ourselves just to make contact.
Yeah, definitely. So the easiest ways to have that are going to be, let's say you're doing Facebook ads through Command and they register through a lead form. You'd be able to have a smart plan for that lead source that automatically would send out, or you can do for a lead source or a tag. So you'd have it be that it's tagged automatically as a Facebook lead. It's going to reach out and it's going to say, Jason, this is Sam Alpern with Keller Williams. Just received your inquiry on our ad for 123 Main Street. Love to chat a little bit later on today. How is so-and-so time? Or I'm in an appointment right now, but I'll be reaching out in a few hours. If you need anything, text me and I'll get back to you right afterwards. So that would be if it's through some level of campaigns that are happening through Command. If you have that someone registers as a lead either on your website or in your app, you can have it do the same thing. So you would just have that this smart plan is automatically tagged to that source, and anything that's coming from that source has this tag that's automatically attached to it. I would speak with your market center tech trainer on exactly how to put that together. But you can have through Twilio that the text automatically sends out. And then you can also have that there's an email that sends from your actual email account. The text would be a different number than your actual phone, but you'd be able to say, you can even have it be, this is this is Sam. I work with Jason at Keller Williams. We just received your information. Sam's just your AI tech that sends out a text to people. They don't need to know that Sam's not an actual person. And now it makes it, that you have a bigger organization in their view as well. Plus, you have someone reaching out immediately. The tricky part will be if you have someone that is not automatically being registered into Command, So you then will want to have your templates in mind for how you respond to those situations. So Jason, if you work 9 to 5 in a different career and someone reaches out and says, hey, my son is looking to buy a multifamily, can you reach out to him? You'd be able to take a quick moment and say, yes, absolutely. I'm booked the remainder of today. Can I have his phone number? I'll be reaching out to him right after 5, right after I get out of appointments. They don't need to know what your appointment is. Your appointment might be another career. Your appointment might be that you're going to the supermarket. Your appointment might be that you're just taking a day off, but you have prior obligations. And it doesn't need to be that I'm a part-time agent or that I just want a day for my family. It's I have obligations right now. I will reach out to you so-and-so time. Or can we speak at these 2 times? Which of those works better for you?
So they're getting a rapid response, but we're we control the follow-up after.
Exactly. And this is specifically if you are you have some set of obligations. Now, if you're a full-time agent and you're able to call them, it's 10 o'clock right now, maybe you do your all of your brand new lead generation until 11, and you're going to then call them at 11. You can text them right now and say, hey, I'll give you a call at 11. I'm in an appointment right now. I'll call you then. And then, but for your situation, Jason, or for anybody else that is dual career, have that quick text that you can send out to them if they're not automatically registering through Command, because you're not going to want to go into Command, add them as a contact, add the tag, and now it sends out the email. You'd be so much quicker if you can just send that yourself in that moment, and it frees you up to be able to reach out right away. Yep, put it to a time that you are actually able to speak with them. It might be your lunch break, it might be after 5 o'clock, whatever it is.
Thank you, Sam.
Marianne, did you have something? Oh, you're still on mute.
You're on mute right now.
Sorry. Okay, so what will be the immediate text messages that we can send? Because I'm a dual career. I have a full-time job. I don't miss any day. I try not to miss Ignite every day, but what will be the immediate text message that we can create?
So I would say, this is my name with Keller Williams. Just received your information from so-and-so, whether it be a Facebook ad or from a referral, or just got your voicemail if you reached out to me directly. I'm in appointments for the next few hours. Can I reach out to you at so-and-so time? Or I will reach out to you at so-and-so time. I think something as simple as that. And that will be regardless of the lead source, because you'll plug it in as needed.
Thank you for that. And what is the Twilio fee monthly?
Twilio, it depends on how many texts you're doing. I believe you can get something around 100 of them that would be outbound or inbound texts for like $3 a month. I think that's well worth it.
Yeah, it's very cost effective. I mean, another thing too, this is also a gray area that video messaging works really well in. If you create a video of yourself and just have it on your cell phone that just says, hi, it's I used to send these out when I used to do leads through, I would get inquiries like through Realtor.com, and it would basically just go back to them in a video message that just said, it didn't have their name on it. It was something just generic, but it would say, hi, I'm Rhonda Messenborg. Thank you so much for your inquiry. I just wanted to take a moment and put my face with the name. I will be reaching out to you shortly, and we'll be happy to answer all of the questions on the property you are interested in. So people just want to know that you're responding in some way, and that their message, because if they don't hear anything, they're like, did it go through? Who did I reach out to? So by just having something, if you just have that on your phone, even if you're in the middle of your workday, Marian, depending on what you do, if you see that if you're just checking email quickly, you see you did get a lead in, it's something, if they filled out their information and it's there and they put their phone number in, you could even send it by email. If you just, it'll take you a minute to say, oh, I'm just gonna send it if it's not something you can automate. In a lot of cases, if it's coming through commands, you can automate it through the smart plan. If it's something you can't automate, have, instead of sitting there typing out a text message to them, just have a video that you can just pop in your text thing and send it to them, and they will appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay.
All right, so 7 different close to appointment tactics that we have here. Number 1 is showing the benefits. So in general, people are more likely to go along with something if you are able to explain, why it should really matter to them. So this is partly why knowing their motivation is so important. You're not necessarily asking for the appointment before you've been able to qualify them at all. And the reason for that is because you don't know if they're qualified. If someone is not at all a serious prospect, it doesn't make sense to sit down and meet with everybody for 30 minutes to go over a buyer consultation. This is for that A-level prospect. And in some cases, I would say a B or a C if they're within the next year, if you want to be able to just get them prepped for when that time does come and have them a little bit more mentally locked into working with you. But this is really designed for that A-level prospect that is ready to get started. I did see that someone in the chat had mentioned for A-level prospects, it's 0 to 14 days from buying. I would say 0 to 14 days from starting the buying process, not from putting an offer on a property. And certainly not for closing, obviously. But 0 to 14 days away from starting to get pre-approved, looking at properties online, which they probably have already been doing in this case, and starting to show them different homes. So showing the benefits of why it is worthwhile to get together for this appointment. Number 2 is the take back close. That's being able to put out some level of a tempting offer in front of the buyer that creates some level of urgency that they might not be able to wait on this scenario. So an example would be, I've enjoyed talking with you. To be honest, I don't know whether I can be of help to you or not. However, I'd be honored if we could meet to find out. How about we meet tomorrow? All of these 7 are going to work for different people in terms of who is receiving that information as the prospect, along with who is giving out that information as the agent. So make sure that you are able to do, if you find that, numbers 3 and 6 are locked and loaded for you every time, they work more often than not, then I wouldn't worry about being the best person at the other 5. Do what really works well for you. However, do know the other ones in case objections are continuously coming up, and that it actually does make sense for you all to get together. Because you're not convincing anyone to do something that isn't actually worthwhile to them, because that would then be working with someone that's not qualified in your eyes. So you want to know the other ones that you could be utilizing and have them as tools in your belt, but you want to really be able to focus on what you do best. You also want to have those tools in your belt because some people will receive the information differently. And that's why if you haven't yet, it's really important to take a DISC assessment, DISC. The DISC assessment is going to show you a bit about who you are and give you a better understanding of being able to notice that in other people as well. If someone's really direct, I probably won't use this take back close on them because they're going to say F off. At the same time, if someone's really direct, I don't want to show them this whole list of benefits. I want to use number 4, which we'll get to in a moment. The negative positive close, an example of that. So the negative positive close is a way of backing into an appointment close. An example would be, would you be offended if I asked you if we could meet to go over all this in a little more detail? I'm free tomorrow. What time works for you? So again, would you be offended if I asked if we could meet to go over all this in a little more detail? I'm free tomorrow. What time works for you? I don't like that part of I'm free tomorrow. What time works for you? I'd say I'm free tomorrow. How's 4 o'clock? So that negative positive is, would you be offended? And in most cases, they wouldn't be. Number 4, give them what they're looking for. So being able to, essentially dangle a carrot that is going to be something that they want to capture. So, if somebody is inquiring about a 123 Main Street let them know you'd love to be able to go over more detail about 123 Main Street and possibly be able to set up a showing. How about we grab a cup of coffee tomorrow at 3 o'clock to discuss the property and if it would meet your needs? Or I actually just spoke with the agent, I'd love to get together and discuss a little bit more of what I learned. Number 5, the trial close. So trial closes are being able to test the waters first. You should be able to find out whether you and your client or prospect genuinely agree. So an example would be, can you see how receiving a list of all the new homes on the market in your price range would help you in your home search? So asking if they would basically agree on this concept that you have in mind. Number 6, the assumptive close, which assumes the close and prevents them from saying no. An example would be, it sounds like we should meet. I'm available most times this week, so what works best for you? They say, great, see you then. Again, I don't like just leaving it so open-ended because I think that's going to make it that your schedule gets dictated by others way too frequently. So instead, I'd be saying, Melissa, it seems like it would be a great idea for the two of us to get together. How about we meet at my office, discuss this in a little bit more detail tomorrow at 4 o'clock? Valerie, right after I go through number 7, we'll answer your question. Number 7 is tie downs. So tie downs are phrases that ask for confirmation. Expressions like, wouldn't that be great? Or forming questions like, can't you? Isn't it? Wouldn't you? And ask for an agreement from the customer to get them in a pattern of saying yes. So we'll save hours on your home search if we meet in the office first. Saving time is important to you, isn't it? They say yes, great. How about we get together tomorrow at 4 o'clock at my office? Valerie.
So number 4, right? Give them what they're looking for. Why wouldn't you just take them to 123 Main Street? Just one place you take them to, and then you actually get to see them and you can kind of chat there in person and then set an appointment from there.
So me personally, I'm not against that. I do think you have to be really weary of it though, because you don't want to set up a pattern that now they only want to go look at properties with you. So what I would do is we'll give them what they're looking for. It could be booking the appointment and simultaneously booking a buyer consult, either right before or right after.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
I'll agree to that. Let's just get together for 15 minutes prior for coffee before we head to 123 Main Street.
Okay.
Because I can't set up this pattern that they think they no longer need a buyer consult and they're only hitting me up when they want to go look at different properties, and they're doing the same thing to 3 other agents that are sending them homes.
I would kind of think though, honestly, that could be a way, like a meet and greet. If we've just talked on the phone and then they call and they say, hey, I really want to see this house, right? As long as we set their expectations as far as, I'm going to show you this one house, but you have to promise that we're going to sit down and actually go through your wants and needs and all that assessment, right?
Yes, I would probably change the language a little bit rather than it being, but you need to promise that we do this, and do something like the assumptive close or a tie down that's, absolutely, let's get together. We'll schedule that showing for 2 o'clock tomorrow, 123 Main Street. Sounds like it would be really good for us to discuss in general what you're looking for, so I can keep an eye out for other similar properties. Right afterwards, how about we just grab a cup of coffee, or let's get a drink together to discuss what your thoughts are.
Good. Thank you.
Great question.
Great.
Any other questions? All right, let's move on to the next one. So buyer objections to the appointment, and this is going to come up constantly. An objection does not mean that it is not the right time for them. However, there are situations that it isn't the right time, and we're not working to convince someone to buy a home. We're looking to learn more about their situation, discuss our value proposition, and just get more details on how we can best work together to empower both parties to reach this goal together. But it's not, objection handlers are not convincing someone to do something that they don't want to do. Objection handlers are ways to diminish some limiting beliefs on the prospect side and open their eyes to opportunities that maybe they're a little bit cloudy on right now or don't know that they exist. So number one, when you're getting objections, being able to ask questions, you know, what makes you feel that way? Or tell me more about that. Help me understand. Number two, empathize with them. You know, make sure they understand that you're actually listening to what it is that they're saying. I know Rhonda and our team, we were speaking yesterday morning during our morning huddle about scripting, and Rhonda brought up a script morning call and mindset morning call that she's always on, and they were doing script practice, and the person that was playing the agent was asking questions. The prospect said that they had just gotten a car accident, and them and their family got in a car accident. It wasn't really, you know, the right timing for them. And they just completely blew over the fact that these people got in a car accident and were working to convince them to set an appointment. They didn't at all empathize with the situation. You know, be human within all of this. So, you know, I'm so sorry to hear that, or I completely understand, and being able to showcase that you're actually listening. Don't just be so static in these scripts or outlines that you have for conversations that you can't allow a little bit of, you know, real personal touch to the situations. Next, identify the real issue. So restate to them what you had just heard and ask for confirmation if that is the case. So that someone says to me it's an expired listing, and they say to me that, you know, they don't want to sell right now because you know, the market is too crazy and they weren't able to find something. So it's not that they don't want to sell. What I'm hearing is that you're saying that you weren't able to find the property that you're looking for on the market. Is that correct? So if you did find that type of property in that price point, you then would consider selling. Is that right? Being able to identify the real issue. The real issue for that expired listing wasn't that they no longer wanted to sell, it's that they weren't able to find the home that they were looking for. So I should learn more about that. Offer a solution. So again, let's stem off of this situation. Offering a solution is learning what type of property that expired listing was looking for. That way you at a minimum can monitor things off the market when you're having conversations with homeowners. And you can monitor what is hitting the market and send them opportunities that may be a fit for them. And lastly, urgent agreement. What urgent agreement means is asking for the appointment. It doesn't say, all right, well, let's get this a contract signed. You haven't met yet. What we're speaking about right now is getting to the appointment. So you mentioned that you don't want to sell right now. I completely respect that. It's because you haven't found the right property. I have a bit of a feel of the property that you're looking for. I'd love to get together for 30 minutes and discuss exactly how we can approach finding that solution for you, finding that home. How is tomorrow at 2 o'clock? Don't be afraid to ask for the appointment. They will not ask for the appointment. Any questions?
No.
All right, next slide, please. Any takeaways from that section?
I would think the approach must be different if it's first-time home buyers versus someone that already owns. First-time home buyers are going to be looking for us for a lot more education. You know, they haven't been through the process. They'll need a lot more information from us. But a question I had was a lot of situations where someone's already sold a home through another agent and now is looking to buy through you, or they usually split it like that, or they usually use one for both. I'm really not sure on that.
There are situations that a buyer will work with two different agents. The most consistent for that is that they're moving out of state wherever, you know, whether it be that they're purchasing now in your state or selling out of your state. That is the most consistent. There are also times that things are happening within state and sometimes within your direct MLS and service area, and maybe they're looking for someone that is more of an expert in a certain type of community. That's something that we have directly experienced. And I know that, you know, for our team, We prefer that not to be the case. We want to be able to work with the client on both sides, as long as we truly believe that we're the best fit for them. And the reason for that is because then there's less, less chefs in the kitchen type of thing. Instead of the, all of the parties and vendors having to communicate with 8 different people, they have the one go-to source on the real estate side for both transactions. It does happen though. And then if it's someone that's sold and now they rent, let's say for a year or two, but I don't care that they sold with another agent in the past, or they purchased that property with another agent in the past. I want to earn their business moving forward. It's just that if things are happening simultaneously, I really want to keep it with us directly as much as possible, as long as it's making right sense for the client. Absolutely. Also to what you said, Michael, in terms of, different sets of people are going to have different questions and concerns. So something, and we're going to start going over the buyer consultation in a moment, but whether it's a buyer consultation or a listing appointment, I make sure that one of the first things I do is ask what questions they have, write down the list. I don't answer the questions right then and there. They're going to be waiting for you. They say, let's say it's a seller. Well, how much is my home worth? Great. You want to talk about the price and the comps. I write that down. And then I go over it in the order that I see best fit as the business professional. But now I understand for this buyer, do they want to know how to even get approved for a loan, or have they done this 4 times already? And they have their lender, they already have a pre-approval. I'm not going to be sitting there and speaking about a pre-approval for 30 minutes if it doesn't matter to them. I'll touch on it really quickly. Michael, you said that you were working with a bank already. Have you gotten pre-approved? Yes, great. We move on to the next section.
I love that, Sam. I love asking for all of their questions up front and making that list. And then you can address them in the consultation. Love that. Any other ahas before we move on to the consultation? All right, let's go. So now we're going to be preparing for the buyer consultation. So buyer consultation preparation checklist. So this is going to be actually leading up to the appointment. So the first thing, right, confirm the appointment date and time. If you're on the phone and you're setting the appointment up for a couple of days from now, you want to make sure that you confirm it, because the last thing you want to do is go to that appointment, say you're going to meet them either in your office if they're coming to your office, or you're going to go to the local coffee shop and buy them a cup of coffee and talk over that. You don't want to show up and then have them never show up. You text them and they say, oh my God, I totally forgot. So it's great to actually confirm the appointment. It's another touch point for you. Again, great way to do that is to use a video. Shoot a video of yourself and say, hi, Michael, it's Rhonda Messenborg. With Keller Williams and Alpern and Messenborg. Really excited that we're going to meet tomorrow at 4 p.m. at Java Madness. I just wanted to send you a quick note to say I will be there. Girl with short blonde hair, you can see that in my video, and I look forward to meeting you there. If you need to reach me beforehand, this is my cell phone. Please simply reply back to this text message. So that way, if they are not going to show up, or if they need to change it, right? Life happens. If they need to reschedule, you have confirmed it and they're going to get back to you. Right? Rather than just not come. Yes, David.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So question was, with the video, I'm still learning about that, and somebody suggested something like take it, upload it to YouTube, and then send the link. Is that how you do it? Or could you speak to that for 30 seconds or so? I know it's sort of beyond.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, so typically what I do is, unless I'm sending it to a bunch of people at once, which typically these are just one-off videos. If I set an appointment with you, David, and I'm just going to send you a personalized video with addressing you by name, I'm going to just do that. And I'm going to just send it right from my cell phone. So I'm going to shoot the video, and then I'm going to go into my text message and I'm going to attach it to your, I'm going to send it through the text message for you. The only time that I would upload a video to YouTube, and I've done that as well, is if I am sending that out to, say you're doing a customer appreciation event, or Valerie, you could do this, say you're doing your buyer seminar, you could shoot a video invitation. If you say you have 100 emails of people you're going to invite to that, You can create your video, talk about your event. Hi, this is Rhonda Messenborg. I'm with Keller Williams. I'm super excited to be hosting a home buying seminar next Wednesday. I'm going to have Matt Kelly from Movement Mortgage on hand. He's going to be there to answer all of your questions, help you through the pre-approval process. We're going to talk about the market stats. I really hope that you can join me. Please reply to this email. Let me know that you're coming, or click the link below to fill your information out in the form, and I hope to see you there. In that case, if I'm sending it out to a bunch of people, I will upload that to YouTube, and then I will put the link in the video, because sometimes if you attach it to an email, it might not go through. And there's a great to be able to send like individual emails to everybody. There's a great extension you can apply to Gmail. It's called GMass. Obviously, we don't have time to talk about that today, but just write it down, GMASS. If you go to gmass.co, it really is a great tool that I have used in my team leader world as well, to send out videos to a bunch of agents out there in the industry who might be interested in attending a Keller Williams class. So you could do it either way, but if I'm just going to be sending something to you to confirm the appointment, I'm going to just create one video and I'm just going to send it to you in a text message.
And quick follow-up, I was only asking because my wife and I both tried it and they were shorter than 25 seconds and they did not attach either through text or through Google email. And this was using an Android phone.
Oh, it's using, okay. So I'm a Mac person. I have an iPhone, and if they are too long, 25 seconds should be okay, because I've sent videos up to like at least a minute long, I feel like. So I don't know if that's an Android thing. You might need to, maybe you just need a special app that allows you to do it. BombBomb is a great app that will allow you to do videos, and you can send them out right through text. So maybe then having a program that does that for you versus sending them directly from creating it and sending it out through your phone. It just might be making it so large, even though it's 25 seconds, it's just too big. So I would look at something like BombBomb. And there's a lot of other companies out there if BombBomb's not the one for you, but there's definitely a lot of apps out there that you can use that can help you with that. Jason, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I was going to make mention of the video because people are asking about the videos. We're skipping ahead a little bit, but another quick nugget. So we talked a little bit about, one of the questions that Sam asked is about lending. Have you been pre-approved? Sometimes I'm sitting with lenders and we're talking about something. Like, for example, I'm going to be speaking with a lender later today. And another way to introduce other parties to your buyers is, hey, by the way, I'm Jason, but this is Nick. Say hi, Nick. Nick's my lender. So it kind of softens that thing. And what I like to do also is I like to so there are certain places where I like to meet and I do it frequently. So I'll be in the coffee shop and saying, I can't wait to meet you in this place.
Yeah. Great.
Right. And it's a way that I found that it kind of mitigates the cancellation because people shift sometimes. We're in sales, right? So people cancel appointments. But I use that and they're like, oh, wow. And it seems like they're kind of excited to go to that place. Because a lot of times I'll ask, hey, have you ever been to before when I'm setting the appointment? Okay, let's meet there. And then I'm there and I'm saying, hey, I can't wait to meet you here next week or whatever. Just thought about you, whatever, to just stay top of mind. And so that they don't forget our appointment time. And it seems to work out okay.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, you should be doing these buyer consultations either in a public place like a coffee shop or having them come to your office. I mean, one of the things that is also always, it is September, it is Realtor Safety Month for those of you who know that, but Realtor safety really should always be top of mind for all of us. It's something that I can say for myself as a realtor, I don't think about it that often, and I really should, because you just always want to make sure that you're keeping yourself safe. So if you're meeting somebody for the first time and you really don't know them, consider meeting them in a public place like a coffee shop. It's a great way to give back to the community. Go to a local coffee shop. Don't do it at Dunkin' Donuts. Don't do it at Starbucks. Go to Java Madness, or go to Audrey's, or, something like that. Ask them what their favorite coffee shop is. And then, like Jason said, go there and shoot your video there, right? And then tag that, and then you can even use that later on, and you can let the owners know. So now you're creating ties in the community and showing that you're supporting your community as well. Or have them come into your office. That's super professional as well. Listen, would love to have you come into the office. I know one of the next things on the slide here is down a little bit, but is to prepare the meeting space, right? So if you're having somebody come into your office, make sure you have coffee and tea or water available for them. When somebody comes into your office to meet you, ask them, hey, can I get you something? Can I get you a cup of coffee? Can I make you a cup of tea? Would you just like a bottle of water? Right? Have something there for them, so that way you're welcoming them in, you're being a host to them, or a hostess, to them. So I love those ideas. So we talked about confirm appointment date and time, confirm the location, ensure all the decision makers are going to be there. If the intent of this buyer consultation is to enter into an exclusive buyer's agreement with them, make sure that all of them are coming. If it's just the wife is coming and she's like, oh no, my husband can't come at 11 o'clock on Tuesday because he's working, or he has something else going on at that time, try to get that appointment when they're both going to be available. Listen, I would really love to speak with the both of you just to make sure that we're all on the same page. I want to get to know both of you. I want to learn what's important to you. I want to learn what's important to your husband. And so I would really love it if the three of us can meet together. Now, if the wife says, you know what, he wants nothing to do with this buying process. He has told me to go out and find our next house. He simply doesn't have time, or vice versa. If the husband or the partner or the spouse is saying, listen, I'm making all the decisions here, then that you take them at their word, right? But I think we were role playing this with our team the other day, right, Sam, here, when we were talking about having both decision makers there. You just want to ask that question. Are you the one making the sole decision, or is there somebody else in your household? Oh, it's my wife. Okay, great. Well, we want to make sure your wife is happy. So we would also like her to be part of this conversation. So make sure that all the decision makers attend. Complete your buyer guide, right? This is going along with what documentation, what materials are you going to bring with you to the appointment? You should have some sort of presentation for them, whether it's electronic and it's on your iPad that you're going to go through, whether you're going to print out a booklet and leave it with them. You're going to bring a copy of the buyer's agreement. That might be part of your packet, should be part of your packet. So making sure that you have your buyer guide completed, that talks about the process of buying and selling real estate, right? Maybe some things that buyers should know about the transaction, what you are going to do for them, what value you're going to bring them. A lot of times buyers think that they should work with multiple agents. They think by just calling on properties and having me show them something and having Jason show them something, and then I'll have Valerie show me something next week. They think they're going to find the best deal that way, and they're going to see everything that there is to see on the market. And they don't understand that if they commit to one agent and that you are working exclusively together, that they're going to get a much better level of customer experience and customer service. So you need to educate them on that. They don't know. So a lot of times buyers just think they should just call the listing agent, because if I call the listing agent, I'm going to get the best deal because that agent's going to get all the commission and they're going to be willing to work with me on price, right? And most times that is not the case. That is not the case. And they don't understand that that listing agent has a fiduciary obligation to their seller to represent their seller and their seller's best interest. Your buyer wants to have somebody representing their best interest. And we as buyer's agents, we need to explain that because sometimes they just don't know that. Now, you might have somebody who owns 4 houses, they buy and sell themselves, and they might be like, I don't need anybody to negotiate for me. I know how to do it. I'm going to pay the price. I'm going to pay the price I'm going to pay, and I don't need a buyer's agent. but still having that conversation saying, listen, I get it. You're not going to pay more than what you want to pay for it. But at least as your buyer's agent, let me take care of all that, all the stress I can take off of your plate. I maybe can't take all the stress off your plate, but I can probably take 90% of it off. And let me handle all those things. Let me handle scheduling showings for you. If you have to call every listing agent to schedule a showing and you're a very busy person, what does that look like for you? Saving time is important to you, isn't it? So why don't you let me and my team handle scheduling all the appointments? We'll reach out to all the listing agents. We'll get it in the right order. So we're very time efficient. Let us take all that off of your plate for you. And even the most seasoned buyers might say, oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh yeah, you're right. I have time to call them. So just pointing to us. Talked about preparing the meeting space, and then we talked earlier about reviewing the lead sheet that you already filled out with them on the phone when you set the appointment with them. So that way it kind of refreshes what your conversation was, because sometimes, you know, you may not, the appointment might not be the next day or the next 2 days. It might be a week from now. So you want to just make sure that you're refreshed and you remember the conversation you had, so you can bring up things that were important to them, what their motivation was. I understand, Michael, that you're moving your home because you have a new baby on the way. And in your current home, you just don't have that extra bedroom that you need for your new baby. It's important for us to find a space that fits you all. You can go back and review that motivation to tie you to them, and, you know, and make sure that they're emotionally in the game. So questions on that list or comments? Anyone? Ahas? Was there anything on that list that was totally surprising that about just preparing for I mean, is the fact of like just preparing for the buyer consultation surprising? Is that an aha itself? A lot of times at realtors, you know, we just kind of run out the door with whatever we have and kind of, we sometimes fly by the seat of our pants. Been there, been there, done that. No questions? All right, let's move on then. Okay, so the top 10 service areas of the buyer value proposition. Understanding what your value proposition is to a buyer is really, really important. So that way that you can speak to it. So that way when they're throwing objections at you as to why they just think they should call listing agents, then that way you're showing what your value is of why they should work with one realtor and why they should work with you exclusively. So understanding what your buyer value proposition is. So the first one, right, the needs analysis, right? You're going to do a very thorough needs analysis of what your buyer, to make sure you're not wasting their time. If they need a home that has a garage and you're showing them homes that don't have garages, right? Because you just didn't know, you didn't ask that question. So doing a very thorough needs analysis, understand exactly what they're looking for. Now, in that, you might have to have the conversation, and this is what sets you apart as a real estate expert, is you might have to have a conversation of what their price is and what their needs are, and make sure that you're bridging that gap to those, right? Because sometimes a buyer might say, well, I really want to be within, you know, walking distance to the beach, you know, but I'd like to spend $350,000. So you also need to be super honest with them and say, okay, well, we might need to modify that a little bit. Difficult to get you that close to the beach at that price range. So we might need to take a little bit harder look at what yours are, and we might be able to make some tweaks so that way your search is not frustrating and that we just can't find something for you. So the second one, right, the pre-qualification or pre-approval, right? Being able to talk about a little bit about the process. We're not lenders, so we're not experts in that. being able to form a connection to one of our preferred vendor partners, one of our lenders that they can have a conversation with. Neighborhood information, that's part of our value proposition. Is right, we understand the neighborhoods. Sam and I work in South County, Rhode Island. Sam lives in Wakefield. I live in Charlestown. So we understand all of these little beach neighborhoods that run from Westerly up the coast of Rhode Island, right? That's very important for somebody who's looking in that realm versus an agent who, you know, maybe lives up in the Providence area, really doesn't come down to South County much. They're not going to know the difference between the 3 beaches in Narragansett. They're not gonna even maybe know there are 3 beaches in Narragansett. So having that neighborhood information is super important. Being able to do their home search, having an automated search go to them. So that way, the minute something comes on the property, MLS has the ability, the minute it hits the property, everybody thinks that they just go to Zillow and Realtor. What they don't understand is that Realtor and Zillow get their information from the MLS system. So the minute the agent hits submit new listing, if it meets the criteria, it's going to go to that buyer. It's also going to come to you. So you're like, oh, hey, Frank and Marie, this property matches their search criteria. So then that way I can text Frank and Marie and say, hey, did you see 123 Main Street that I just emailed to you? This is a good one. We should go look at this. So you're going to be able to set that up. They really can't, they can try to do it through Realtor or Zillow on their own. However, those statuses sometimes don't correlate. So that's the frustration of they want to see this one, but yet it's already under contract. But so again, that's part of our value. You're going to help them make an offer. You're going to do all the paperwork for them. If you're a buyer, right? So let's take our realtor hat off for a moment, just as a consumer. Before you were a realtor, Michael, if you were going to put an offer in on a property, would you know what to do? Would you know how to put an offer in on a property yourself?
No.
Right. You would probably think I should probably just call the listing agent, right? And tell them I want to put an offer in. Right. And a lot of times buyers don't know what goes into putting an offer in, right? They don't know what information they need. So again, it's being able to provide that value to them. Listen, when you're ready to put in an offer, I'm going to handle all of the paperwork for you. And I do this day in and day out. So I can whip it up in 30 minutes and I can have it to you. So that way, if there's a deadline, we're going to meet that deadline. I can handle all of it. I will reach out to your lender. I'll make sure we get that pre-approval letter. I'll handle all of it. I'll make sure we have all the right forms that we need, right? As a consumer, you don't even know what forms you might need. You might not know that the disclosures that the seller is supposed to give you. So that way you can read through and acknowledge everything that they know about the house. So as your realtor, I'm going to make sure that we handle all of that. And then then negotiating. We talked about this. I'm going to negotiate on your best interest, not the seller's. I'm going to make sure I get you the best price for the house. As a listing agent, the listing agent wants to get the best price for the seller on the house. Obviously, there has to be common ground, and there always should be, right? It should always be in a collaborative spirit to make sure it's a win-win situation for everybody. But yet, you're going to work on your buyer's best behalf. Vendor coordination. We're experts. We have relationships with our vendors. So do they need an insurance company? Maybe they're from out of state moving into Connecticut from Florida, right? They may not have, first of all, they may not have a lender. We're going to take care of that for them. They may not know any attorneys. Let me tell you what attorneys I work with that I know are efficient and will get the job done. Do you need an insurance company? Hey, I got that phone number for you. When you move into the house, do you know somebody, do you know a landscaper, Rhonda? Yeah, absolutely. Let me send you over my landscaper's name and number. There's no AC in the house. Let me send you over my HVAC guy, right? So anything, this is part of your concierge service and part of, God bless you, Jack. You're going to be able to tap into your Rolodex of vendors and be able to provide that value to them. Pre-close preparation, you're going to make sure that dates are met, the lender's on the same page with the attorney, they're talking to the other side, you're going to coordinate everything, going to get the walkthrough done, right? You're going to make sure everything is all tied. Your buyer can go and do what they need to do, live their life, work, take care of their family, and they're going to let you do what you're an expert at, and that's handling real estate transactions, right? That's your value. And then we talked about the closing and post-closing. We're not going to go away. We say to our buyers all the time, listen, just now that we're closed, congratulations. We're not going anywhere. We don't go away. You're not rid of us. We're going to check in on you from time to time, make sure everything's okay with the house. See if you need something, right? When time comes that you're ready to replace the floors that we talked about, I'm going to make sure that you have my floor guy. In the kitchen, you want to take a wall down. Let me send you my architect's name. They're amazing. So post-close, we're still going to be there to care for them for you want to talk about all of these things in your buyer consultation because it's what provides value to you. Your buyer might have walked in and just thought, I'm just going to call. I really don't really want to work with one agent. I really kind of want to play the field and I want to call listing agents. But after that, and after talking about all these things, they might stop and say, oh God, I need a buyer's agent. What the heck was I doing before that? So thoughts, questions, and ahas on that.
Yeah, I think most people probably don't know. We bought a house 22 years ago, and we were just going to listing agents, and I contacted my cousin who's a realtor. She said, "Oh, we'll be a buyer's agent for you," and it was really helpful. It's good to know. But going into the process, we had no idea that we should have a buyer's agent and how they were going to, represent our interests. Yeah,
absolutely. And in most I'll say in most cases, or typically, it doesn't cost the buyer anything to have their own representation. And a lot of buyers simply don't understand that. So it's important to just, to give them that knowledge. A lot of them, they're just like, oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. So it's important to just let them know that this is how it works. All right, so let's move on. So the next slide is going to talk about, this is everything that could go, whoops, hold on here. Okay, very hard to find good help. Buyer guide contents, right? Make a copy of this page. This is great. This is your outline. There may be one of these already in command, maybe. But take a picture of this page, right? This is what your buyer guide should have. You can create these and you can send it off to Staples or to FedEx Copy. They will print and bind this for you on very nice paper for about $12 probably. And it's a nice little leave behind that you can give to your buyers. But you should have a welcome letter, the timeline. What does the buying process look like? Right? What's the home search process look like? Make sure you have a link for and information on your KW app. Listen, I would love for you to install my KW app. Any property that you want to see in there, you just click the button, it comes right to me. I'm going to get the showing request in about a second. I'll reach out to the listing agent. I'll get us in there. We'll be on the same page. Again, introduction, the value proposition we just talked about, the pledge of quality, and a little bit about you. And if you haven't been in real estate very long, that's okay. We talked about this yesterday with Jen. We all have transferable skills of what we have done in past careers into real estate. We're people, right? So your bio can include what you've done for your community, what you do with your family, right? It's about creating a relationship and getting to know them. If you want to include, if you're newer and you want to include some stats, include your market center stats, right? Lean on your market center. That's why you're at KW, right? You have a mentor. If you're brand new, likely that you're working with, include your mentor in your, right, that you're going to partner together. Reasons to buy a home, some market analysis, price ranges and trends. You can get these if you're in Rhode Island on RI Living. I think in Connecticut, the Connecticut MLS does a really good job of giving you some stats. You can go to NAR, the National Association of Realtors, and get some stats. So know where in your, whatever state you're in, know where to go to get some good market data that you can include. That typically comes out every month. A financial worksheet so they understand what they need to buy a house. I need a down payment. I'm going to need closing costs. I'm going to need if the home is on oil for the heating system or bottled gas, I'm going to have to purchase whatever's left in the tank from the seller. A lot of buyers don't know that. So just making a financial worksheet for them. This has credit check request. I don't know, we don't include that in ours. That's something that they can do with their lender. So I don't know that you need to include that personally. An interest rate chart, yeah, let them know what the current interest rates are. That just shows more value. Again, items required for a loan application, get with your preferred lender and have them put some information in your buyer guide. You can absolutely have them put some information in your buyer guide. They can provide all of that for you. Information on Keller Mortgage or Keller Covered. If they're used in your area, you can include that. Mistakes to avoid. We have something we have an infographic and we have a page that says 5 things every buyer should know, right? We don't call it mistakes, but 5 things you need to know. This is what you need to know if you're a buyer, specific to a buyer. And then the buyer questionnaire, which is going to be part of your needs analysis. So questions on that list. Has anybody created their buyer guide yet? Yes, David.
Hi, quick question. Is it just my computer? It looks like between 13 and 14, there's like a little weird 27.
Yeah, and I think it's the slide because it's on my paper copy too. I think it's just the way the slide was created. Good question though, because it made me look twice too. So there isn't anything there. Let's see, Sarah asked, where can we find these buyer content guides? So I think that yes, thank you, Sam, designs in Command. I think if it lives there it is, it'll be in there.
You can also ask other agents in your market center. You'll be surprised how many people are willing to give out guidance.
Absolutely. Actually, the next slide actually talks about Command. So let me just get there, right? So the buyer guide, everything you need is in Command and it's totally customizable. So that's what it looks like. If you go over to go to the templates, you're going to find it in there. And then you can go through, you can put in your DBA name. So where you see there on the bottom where it says KW DBA name, you need to get your logo in there. You can upload it into your assets through the Command Design Center. You can also upload your photo. So you can add your photo to it if you want. And then you can go through and you can customize it. So again, if you go into Connect and you just search, there's probably a video out there that explains how to customize that. Has anybody done that yet? I think the next couple of slides here just show.
I played around with it. I haven't sent it to anyone, just the first couple of buyers I got.
Great, that's how it starts. So that's great. So this is just showing a couple of what the pages look like. So it's, it's very professional, right? It's very well done. So here are some great questions that you can ask for the wish list, right? And they're right on the page. So you can make sure that this page is in there. And then this is a great talking point. So open it up with them, or if you're showing it on your screen and then just going to leave them the hard copy and ask them these questions, right? Who's going to be living in your home? This is part of your needs analysis. List the adults, children's, and the pets. If you list the pets, that's amazing, because when you go into Command and you enter them in and you go back into their contact card and enter in their pets' names. So then that way, next time you text them, they buy the house and 2 years later, you're making that quarterly call to them. And you can say, hey, Jack, I was just, how's everything? How's everything going? How's Snoopy? How's your dog Snoopy? How's he liking his new backyard? Right? It just kind of ties you. It's nice for the relationship to remember children's names and pets' names.
This part of Command, I really use it all the time, especially to create flyers and things like that, because it makes it so easy
So-
produce, not only presentations, but all kinds of different things. The more you play with it, the more you like it.
I agree with you. Yep, I agree with you. And I love some of the questions on this page. What are the non-negotiables for your home? Right? Sometimes I'll just say, what are the must-haves? What is a must-have? I love the way that states it here. What are the non-negotiables for your home? Yes, Ellen, I saw you put your hand up.
Just a quick question. I don't know if you or Sam can answer this. Is there one, if you're hosting someone's open house, I'm not the listing agent, or would you do it the same way? What's the bet? Is there one that's preset?
Do you mean for a buyer guide? You're talking about a buyer guide?
Like if I was doing an open house, right?
Yeah.
So is there something in there that I could have? So the first one I did, believe it or not, almost everybody that came in there, except for the 2 people that scheduled, didn't have an agent.
Yeah.
So is there one in there to give? They're obviously looking to buy. I gave my information. I was able to get the contact info and follow up. But I would have liked, and this was my first one, and they say, just go. I had nothing. Agent didn't
You
even
could
give me
absolutely
disclosure.
bring this buyer guide. You could absolutely bring this buyer guide. Like I said, we have a little, we call it an infographic. It's just a smaller version. It's on a ring binder. It's 6 pages. We bring those to our open houses. So yeah, you absolutely can bring that. If you're hosting an open house, the benefit in doing that is that if somebody does come in who's not represented, that you would have the opportunity to be able to speak with them and possibly pick up a lead for a buyer client. So absolutely, you can bring this buyer guide there and say, listen, I would love for you to take a copy of my buyer guide, and I'd love to follow up with you, and then schedule an appointment and sit down and go through that needs analysis. Because it's just the guide. It's not the needs analysis. You need to sit there and ask the questions and take the information, right? So this will give them a little something, a little get to know you. So then that way it's a very warm call when you call them 3 days later and say, hey, Sam, I met you at my open house last week. It was such a pleasure. I know that you are not currently working with an agent. I would love for the opportunity to sit down and talk with you about how I can bring value to your home buying experience and go through a analysis with you.
Some of these, I have one this Sunday. So.
Yeah. I will tell you that if you customize it in designs today and you send it to FedEx or Staples tomorrow, you can pick it up in just a day and you can have them, they will have it ready for you for the weekend.
I just wanted to add, I'm not sure if you guys can actually see this. I create this on the, and this is a booklet of, happened to be a listing presentation. Everything is on, everything here. I put from, comps, all that stuff is already in I sent 2 packages. One tells you all about you, what a wonderful person you are, and so on and so forth, which that you can actually copy. I didn't do anything extraordinary. I just copy and paste and things like that and put it on command. And then I created this little booklet, and then I send that first. And then I tell them to review it. And then my second, and I took this from Bolt, where the second presentation, it would be a copy of the listings, the wish list, or wish to sell it for, and then also the comps. And then I kind of work with that, and you can have more details if you follow Bolt. I created this in like 5 minutes, and now that it's already there, I'll have to do is, normally I get better paper than my office offer, and then I just buy it, and then I just put it on their copier and and do it. So I had that. I got a proposal. I got all kinds of different booklets that I make, and there, once you have it once, you could just print it and maybe just change one page or whatever. So I just wanted to kind of point it out to you guys, if that's any help to you guys that are starting out and things like that, because it's time you can spend hours doing this kind of stuff if you going to start from scratch. And command, especially on you can do so many. The more you play with it, the more you like it. I promise you.
Love that. Yes, I love that. That's great. Okay, so it's already 11:05 and we still have 2 sections to go through. So I'm going to move us along so that way Sam and I can get through the next couple of sessions and get you out of here before noon today. So these slides here, and Sarah, I did see your question, and yes, I'm going to actually, if you're on right now, let me just go up there. Here's the buyer guide contents. You asked what goes into the buyer guide. So if you can grab a picture of this, and it may be in your participant guide as well. As Sam's going through the next section, I will also try to grab a picture of this and post it in the chat, okay, or at least post it in text. So I'm going to just kind of scroll through the rest of these. It also talks about putting neighborhood insights in there. I will copy and paste the answer section on KW Command on how to do this. As far as putting that into your presentation. Okay, so we have about half an hour to 40 minutes left, and I want us to get through conducting the buyer consultation and then getting the signed buyer agreement before we recap for the day and move on to our success system. So Sam, I'm going to have you take over now and conducting the buyer consultation.
All right, I'm just getting the notes up on my side.
Great. Somebody want to read this for us on the screen as Sam's doing that?
I am knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. They will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they buy a home.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Save this and read this over and over again. This is a great affirmation for all of us. All right, Sam, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think, what we just had Jason read is important to note of just always projecting confidence. I know Valerie mentioned earlier about her first time home buyer seminar. She said that she's a bit scared and nervous about it because she doesn't feel like that she really knows anything yet. But she's speaking to people that know literally zero. So if you know one thing about real estate transactions, and I know everyone here from having been on Ignite knows much more than just one thing, we have a world of experience compared to many other people out there. We might not know as much as some of the top experts in the field that have been doing real estate for 20 years, but that's where we're at right now is still well beyond the average person. So make sure that you are always keeping that in mind, keeping the knowledge relative and not just looking at what other people know and you don't. Look at what you know that others don't. So when you are on the appointment, make sure that you're taking time to welcome them, being able to set expectations on what you're going to go over during the conversation, be able to give some quick, background on yourself and any level of credibility that you haven't yet. And this is typically where I'd be finding out exactly what their questions are as well. So being able to just get that list from them. Again, don't go through the list and answer what their questions are, but as you're, sitting down and just getting acclimated to one another, make sure you're asking them, Jason, really appreciate you taking the time today. I'm curious, I do have a list of things that I want us to go over. What questions do you have? I want to make sure that I'm able to hit on the high ends for you. And then just getting that list for them.
Great.
Next part is the needs analysis. So some of this you may know already from the that LP Mama piece that we spoke about earlier, and just from qualifying them over the course of the last several months and whatnot. But I think just going through the list again, see what the negotiables are, what the non-negotiables are, getting a feel for what this dream home really would be. And the location for it as well. Make sure that you're able to be as specific as possible, because that's going to empower you through the search. You also, by getting a better hold of what their needs, wants, and desires are going to make it that you're seeing less properties and you're focused on the ones that actually match their criteria. If they very specifically want to be in the north end of Boston, they should not be looking in the Cape. And you should not be running all over the state because they found a house that meets their needs if the location is nowhere near where they're wanting to be.
Are you ready for me to go on?
I think this is still me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I understand. So this love letter is something that people have done in the past, and the National Association of Realtors, along with KW, are really putting it out there for all of us to recognize that we really should not be doing these. It was a common practice that shouldn't really exist because of equal housing, and making sure that there's nothing that is about the demographics of the buyer that is prioritizing them or putting them further away from the competition in terms of purchasing a home. So as seller, as listing agents, we should not be accepting them. As buyers agents, we should not be putting them together. Can I control if a client of mine writes one and sends it in the mail? No, but I am not going to be touching this, and I'm not going to be advising that it's happening.
Yeah, this is something that, I mean, just, it was probably what, maybe like in the last 8 months that all of a sudden this came to light where.
Yeah, 4 years ago, when I was buying a house, I was writing these love letters. I was putting a photo of myself and my fiance. I was discussing that she works at the University of Rhode Island, and we live now 10 minutes away from campus, and that we really wanted to be close by, look at starting a family. But it's very clear who we are, what we look like, where we come from in that. And, you know, it, like Rhonda said, within this last year, it's really been emphasized that we should not be doing that. And it's clear why. I mean, let's look in this group right now. Jason and I, you and I look very much different than one another. We come from different areas, we're different people. And there's going to be things that people just assume based on the colors of our skin. And we don't want that to be in play. We don't want to have that anywhere near where this transaction is, regardless of which side of the transaction we're on.
Yeah, and I strongly encourage everybody to take there is the Agent of Distinction certification through KW. However, even if you weren't going to do the certification, but there's a couple of classes that KW offers. One of them is the color of real estate, and the other one is unbiased. I think it's unbiased bias. And that class, when I was at Mega Camp in August, you know, Gary Keller just recently took the unbiased bias class, and he said he was shocked at the biases that he has and didn't even know he had. If somebody had said to him, like, do you have, there are biases that you hold, he'd say like, no way. And then you just like, it's unconscious bias, I think is what the name of it is. And there's just things that, you know, when we write these love letters, or as agents, we hand these love letters over, we're not thinking along those lines. Like that is just something that's not even in our realm. And the liability piece comes into it, is you just don't want somebody that maybe didn't get the house to ever feel that they didn't get the house because it was something about them, right? And just going back to our protected classes, and it could be, you know, our religion, it could be our race, it could be it could be a disability stat. I mean, it could be anything in those protected classes. And you just want to make sure that we are keeping in with all of the fair housing, and that we're not doing anything that is jeopardizing that. Yes, Ellen.
I wanted to just add something. I know we're talking about buyers, but when I went out with one of our top agents for a seller listing appointment, one of the items that they asked, you know, you declutter, but in the nicest way, maybe take down some of the cultural items that they had, even the pictures, because they were very proud that one of their sons was in the military. You can see, you know, a lot of pictures, and, you know, one graduated from school, and it's just certain things that they did have. They were a mixed race couple, so you can just see, and they said, you know, when people are walking through, let's just give them a visual of just seeing the house. Because some
Mhm.
buyers can be biased, as you were saying. So that's also good on the seller side as well. If it's a listing appointment, not just a, the buyer is sending out letters.
And
Yeah.
I would say for sellers, it's regardless of anything demographic related. Really, it's about neutrality. When someone's walking in the home, you don't want them to see your home. You want them to see their home, and
Yeah.
them being able to have their imagination roam as much as possible. That's why it's typically advised that there aren't family photos that are posted up on the walls. Even from a clutter perspective, there's some walls on staircases that are completely filled. But now when you're walking up that staircase, it feels tight in some situations. So being able to just make it that the buyers are seeing their home instead of yours, that's what the decluttering and making things neutral is really about. So yeah, that's absolutely something to be keeping in mind. But that's regardless of anything. That if you have a little baby photo, half the time you should be taking that down just to be able to make it as neutral as possible.
Right. And she said for two different reasons. One, you just don't know anyone's situation. Seeing a baby could be traumatizing. You just don't know. So in those things I didn't really think about. It looked homey because you had that. But no. Declutter. There's the one.
And
Yeah.
I would say I'm sorry, Rhonda, go on, then I'll pipe in after.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Because you go.
This part that I'm about to mention doesn't come up as frequently with buyers. It definitely can with sellers. I have had sellers ask me while we're working together, while the listing is active, to tell me about the buyers and who they are. I will sometimes mention something like they were a younger couple in terms of it being that we can maybe get them to a higher offer. They are moving from a little apartment and they clearly are wanting something that, their newborn has some room to play. I think to, a certain extent, those things are okay, but I'm not positioning them of, let me tell you about this buyer versus this other one. The other thing is I've had sellers tell me prior to working together that they want to know more demographically who the people are. And I let them know I'm not doing that. I'll give you certain things that are going to help us in terms of negotiating within transactions, but I'm not pitting different demographics against one another. And if that's what you're wanting, I'm not the right person for you. And I think that's something that is completely fine to say, because if you are in that situation, it's either going to make you really uncomfortable saying no now in the moment, or you're going to do something that is not right. So
we had an incident where that happened, where the sellers did not want certain people buying their home. This was, when I say recently, I mean last week. So wasn't mine, but that was what was going on.
And yeah, that's something for us as agents to be able to keep in mind, the ethics of being a realtor, and making sure that we're not putting ourselves or our clients in an adverse position, and making sure that we're doing this as ethically as possible. So it is completely fine to say no, or to working with somebody, or to fire them as a client if they are not operating within your values.
That's disclosing things like that. It's totally illegal here in California. We're having a very restrictive, we call it here, steering, and that's definitely here in California is totally illegal. So it's smart to stay away from that situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will, Ellen, to your point, I'm going to say one little quick story that just happened to me last week in regards to a seller and the contents of their home. And then we'll move on to the last section, so we don't go over. But in speaking about taking down personal items and some pictures and all of that stuff, I actually showed a house last week to some buyer clients of mine, and it was very sad and tragic. The reason that the sellers were selling is that they had a child who had passed away from cancer. They were sick and they had cancer, and they just felt they couldn't live in the house any longer because of that, which is a lot of times as realtors we'll ask why somebody is selling. And that was like, it was very sad. However, they had the little boy's bedroom, or where it had been his bedroom, was literally a shrine to this little boy. But what had happened was, and that's such a hard situation for the listing agent to be able to have a conversation with the sellers about it, because obviously it was very important to the sellers to have that room in that manner. However, we were in there with a group of buyers. They had a lot of showings, so they had asked us to kind of come, and there was a bunch of us in there at the same time. And being as realtors, we're observers, right? And so we kind of read the room, and we read what people are thinking and all of that. And you could just see that when everybody walked in that room, and that was where the listing agent kind of said, oh, this is why they're selling. It's because this little boy had passed away. And it really gave, like, I don't know that anybody made an offer on that house, because it was really just, it was like a deflating moment for everybody, because everybody was just felt heart-wrenchingly sad about it. And it really just kind of not ruined, but it really modified the energy and the feeling of that house. And now when you think of that house, that's what you think about, right? So in having those really hard with those sellers in particular, just having that conversation, that I totally understand, how important it is to you to, to have something where you're honoring your little boy. However, I don't want it to cause a situation where maybe it becomes detrimental to the sale of your home, because that's what everybody's going to be focused on when they come in. It's a very hard conversation to have. I've never had to have that conversation. Very hard conversation to have, but it did happen to us, and it really kind of deterred most of the buyers in that group from that home. Yes, Jason.
Real quick, and it's interesting, I had a conversation with a seller whose son died in the house. And we have to disclose that, but only if asked. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, that's only something and I think if somebody asks the question, I believe that they could put it in writing, and you can give it to the seller to ask. And I'm not 100% clear on that. So Jason, what state are you in?
And that's what I wanted to, is it different by state? I'm in Massachusetts.
Yeah, so I believe, I know at the Rhode Island Association of Realtors, we have Monica Staff, who is our Rhode Island Association counsel. And I would assume the Massachusetts Association has somebody on legal counsel. I have Monica on speed email, because any question like that comes up, as I was team leader, I would send an email to her, copy the agent that was asking the question. So I would ask your legal counsel at your local association what that is, because honestly, I always go back and forth where I can't honestly, because I've never been in that situation where that's happened. So I honestly don't even know if that's something that as realtors we would be allowed to just disclose, or if they have to give a letter and you have to give it to the sellers for the sellers to answer directly. So I would ask your association counsel, and I'm going to actually do the same for Rhode Island. I'm going to send Monica an email today.
So I have a contact. Thank you.
If you have a form in your we have GovR here, the name of the association is here, it's called GovR. If they have a form, and then you have to use it. If you don't have a form, most likely you don't have to disclose it.
Okay. Yeah, and Roland's you're in California, correct, Roland?
Yeah, we have a little more restrictions on disclosing things. We have to disclose here for wind. We have to disclose here for fires. Now we have to disclose for earthquake. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we have to disclose that you perhaps you don't have to disclose it. I know in Florida you have to disclose about hurricanes and things like that, and floods, and so different state. That's why we have different licensing requirements for each state. And anyways, that's just my input.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that. Okay, great. All right, so let's move to our last section, close for the agreement. So this is actually the most important part of your buyer consultation, is really getting that exclusive agreement. So that way the buyer is agreeing to work with you exclusively as their agent representative. Of course, it's very important to do the needs analysis, to find out everything that they're looking for, and to make sure that they feel heard, that they feel that they are in great care. However, you want to make sure you have this agreement, because that actually sets the stage for what everybody's responsibilities are within the working relationship. And it also defines how we get paid as realtors. Because there are sometimes a scenario where perhaps a co-broke compensation is not being offered. And so we need to know how to handle that. And if we don't have a buyer's representation agreement set up, then that actually is not going to get addressed. So wrapping up the buyer consultation, first of all, offer up your KW app. If you're sitting there at the table with somebody, you're going through the needs analysis, sit there while they install it and say, hey, do you have your cell phone? Great. You know what? Take it out. I'm going to actually just send you the code. I'm going to text it to you right now. We all have an individualized code for our own unique KW app. It's the same app. The only difference is when you click on contact information, it's going to pull from command your profile picture, everything about you, your phone number. So make sure that you have all of that filled out in command. Make sure your marketing profile is complete. And you're going to be able to give them that app, have them install it. And now they're not using Zillow, they're using your app to find properties. So first, offer up the KW app. Set the expectations. Talk to them about what happens next. Okay, great. Thank you so much for meeting with me. Right now, let's talk about what we're going to do next. Right? We're going to set up searches. I'm going to send you some information on all the neighborhoods that we talked about today that you said that you might be interested in. I'm going to send the lender and recommendations if they're not already pre-approved. If they are, great. We don't need to do that. If they've asked for other contacts, we're going to send that to them. And then for me, I always like to, if it's right, if you're just setting up searches or not ready to see anything yet, but then, make sure you set up another time where you're like, listen, I'm going to set up all of these things for you. If you're not going to set another meeting time in person, so if you don't already have something that you're going to see, listen, I'm going to meet you at the open house on Saturday at noon. We at least say, listen, I'm going to give you a buzz on Saturday. Does that work for you? I want to just call and talk about everything that I'm going to send you. Make sure that you spoke with the lender. I want to make sure I'm following up with you to see if you have any additional questions. You're going to give them a lot of information at the consultation, right? So once you read through my buyer guide, because you're not going to go through it page by page, word by word. So you know what? Let's follow up tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I'm going to give you a quick phone call. Just would love to know what questions you might have, because you're likely going to have questions. That cannot be the end of this. Is that all there was to it?
Yeah, those last two sections were just about a slide each.
Wow. All right. Well, let's talk before we wrap up that. I was expecting a little more from that, I have to say. Let's continue talking about I'm going to stop my share here so we all come back together. There we are. So let's continue to talk a little bit about the buyer consultation agreement, because I do feel that is very important. Now, it could vary from state to state. And I know we're on here from Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, California, which is awesome that Roland is joining us from the other side of the United States. But it's very important. And there's a lot of agents that don't work with buyer agreements. It's really important to be able to get in the habit of doing that, because like I said, it sets the stage for what what's expected of you as the buyer, what's expected of me as the agent. Right? And sometimes if a buyer is reluctant to sign it, it's only because we just haven't educated them on the benefits of doing so, right? If you're listing somebody's house, there is not a seller that is going to say that they're not going to sign a listing agreement with you. As sellers, they understand that there has to be an exclusive agreement. With buyers, it's just a matter of educating them as to why it's important for them, right? Because if you're working exclusively with me, then I can really spend a lot of time, or you become one of my A clients. And I can spend time looking for homes for you. If I know you're running around with 4 other agents, you know what? I'm going to spend my time on my A clients that are going to be loyal to me, right? And then talking about compensation, it talks about how do I get paid as a realtor? And this is something I feel like sometimes realtors don't like to talk about how we get paid, right? I don't know, everybody gets very funny if we start talking about the fact that we actually get paid for what we do. We provide a value, and you deserve to get paid for that value that you and the service that you provide, just like everybody else that goes to you get a paycheck on Friday every week. We don't get them weekly. We get them when we actually close a piece of property, right? But we do deserve to be paid. You deserve to be paid as a real estate professional. So don't be afraid to talk about it, right? Bring it up first, right? Talk about it first. And maybe in that list of questions, as Sam said, that when you sit down and say, hey, let's talk about all your questions, I'm gonna write all your questions down and we're gonna make sure we answer them all through the buyer consultation, through our consultation today. And then anything that I haven't addressed, we'll address at the end. Maybe one of their questions is, what does it cost me to have a buyer's agent? Right? Great question. And you might decide in that moment that you're going to debunk that myth, or we talked about myth understandings yesterday. You're right, debunk that right now. You know what? Let's just get that worry right out of your head. Right? 99% of the time, it's not going to cost you anything to have me work with you because I'm going to get paid from the listing agent. But does anybody know? Has this happened to anybody? Has anybody shown a property where the listing agent is not actually offering a co-broke fee? Anybody? No, that's good. Sometimes it happens, right? Sometimes, or maybe you go into MLS where I know in Rhode Island, it lists what the co-broke fee is. I know in Connecticut does too as well. And I'm sure in Massachusetts does as well. Sometimes you look at the co-broke fee and you see they're paying 1% on it. Right? So what do you do as a realtor? Do you just say, okay, I guess I'm just going to make 1% commission on that? What else could you do? Yeah, Marion, what could you do?
Yeah, all that information usually is disclosed in the MLS, right?
Correct.
In
Correct.
information. Co-broke fee will be like, okay, so the listing agent. So I'm going to bring a buyer. So I'm the co-broke. And then the percentage will be there 1%. Now, my question is that negotiable?
So the answer to that is yes, it could be negotiable, right? So there's a couple of different ways that you could address that. Now, if you have a buyer's agreement in place, you've already talked about this you've had this conversation with your buyer, and you could say, you know what, from time to time, there's a section, I know in the Rhode Island buyer's agreement that talks about what your fee is. And you could state it in there that my fee as a buyer's representative is 3%. Or what's listed in MLS, whichever is greater. Actually, that language comes from Jen Bovey. Right, and what that says is that my fee for service is 3%. Right, you could choose if MLS is paying 2.5%, you could absolutely choose to take the 2.5%. But what it does is it leaves room for a conversation for your buyer to understand that if MLS is not paying what your fee is, that there is a possibility that you're going to work with them for them to make up that difference, right? You could state it as my fee is 2.5%, or what's stated in MLS if greater, right? So in that case, is if the fee is 2.5% listed in MLS, great, that's your fee, you're covered. If it's 3%, that's great, you're covered, right? Because it says that whatever's if MLS is greater. If it's 1%, then it opens the conversation with the buyer to say, listen, this house ticks all your boxes. I want to show it to you, but I do want to bring it to your attention that they are only paying a 1% commission on this property. So when we write an offer on it, and I'm going to in there, it is contingent on the seller paying me a 2.5% commission, or Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, are you willing to make up the difference of my commission?
Oh, so it's okay to ask them to make up for the difference, because I'm gonna just talk to my buyer, right? So I'm gonna say my service fee usually is 2%, but this listing, this property or the agents listing, they are paying only 1%. So is that okay to ask? Most of the buyers, they never want to ask about it.
Of course not. And that's because we don't, because we're very self-conscious and we don't feel that we should be asking that question. 2.5%.
Is Rhonda breaking up a little bit on everyone's end?
Yeah.
So she's saying that, you know, overall, we as agents can be a little bit timid in attacking that question, you know, bringing it up on our end. So because the buyer's not thinking about on every property, what's the co-broke commission? They know that the seller's paying the commission. So in these situations, we need to be comfortable having those uncomfortable conversations. And the best way to do that is practicing that amongst one another. So, you know, on the buyer side, being able to practice that conversation with other agents so you're better prepared for it. And then on the listing side too, because it's absolutely going to come up on the listing side. It's not going to come up nearly as frequently on the buy side, but it definitely will on the seller side. So we need to make sure that we're ready for those conversations, and it's not the first time that it's coming up when it's happening in the moment.
Yeah, because if that is in the seller side, they are exclusive. And then if we don't, if we find a buyer, another agent brings the buyer, we have to split the commission. So we can explain that too, right?
Yeah, you would be explaining to the buyer when you're having that consultation that the listing agent is negotiating the commission and typically offering out half or whatever percentage that they're offering of the fee. And that's why it doesn't cost the buyer anything to work with us, because if they don't work with us, the listing agent's keeping the full commission then, since there's no other agent. There will be buyers that then say, oh, well, I'll just tell them to take 2% off of the purchase price, and the listing agent will just get their normal half of the commission. First off, the listing agent themselves needs to be okay with that. And secondly, if they do decide to do that, and now the buyer's representing themselves, and then in theory saving what that commission would be, what are they costing themselves in the meantime? What are the different expenses they need to take on, the different time commitments that they need to take on, and what are they missing out in terms of having a representative for negotiation and communication?
Yeah. What if my last question? What if a buyer walk into the open house and they fall in love and they don't have representation?
So that's going to depend a little bit state to state. So definitely speak with your broker about this and somebody in your office. In Rhode Island, we are allowed to work on the transaction on both sides. However, we're not able to be the client representative for both. We'd instead have to be a transaction facilitator for both.
Do you negotiate? I'm sorry to cut you off. Do you negotiate? Let's say that a transaction on one end is 2%, and most likely, anyway, it doesn't make any difference what they're offering. But would you negotiate that with the seller agent?
Let's pause for a quick moment. I want to continue with that piece about the open house. If a buyer is making, or in general, a buyer is making an offer on one of your listings. And then Whitley, I saw that your hand had been up for a while, so I want to get to your question first as well. The open house piece, or a buyer coming directly to you, that's something that is going to depend on what you and your client are comfortable with and what your state allows. Like I said, in Rhode Island, we are allowed to work on it as the transaction facilitator, not as the client representative, because I can't represent the seller and the buyer at the same time in terms of truly negotiating on both of their behalves. I just know too much information about both sides. So I can decide to refer that out to one of the agents in my office if the buyer is wanting a full representative, or if my seller is wanting to ensure that I remain a full representative for them. So that's something to speak with your broker about. Whitley, what was your question?
Sorry, it's very similar. I want to clarify that normally everything is co-broked, right? And the seller normally pays the fees, and it's usually 6% and 3% each side, correct?
So there is no traditional commission. I know for our sales team, for our value proposition, we charge a 6% commission when we're working with sellers. And we've also been extremely diligent about offering out 50% to whoever brings the buyer, whether that's someone from our office, someone from our team, or someone that is working with a different brokerage. And there are agents in Rhode Island that have started to not offer out 50%. Part of our value proposition to our seller is that we are offering out 50% to keep really, really high relationships with other agents and make those agents extremely excited to show our listings because they know that they're getting a fair compensation. I'm sorry, what can you repeat your question? I want to make sure I'm answering all of it.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify that, like you said, there's not a set amount of percent for.
Yeah, no set amount. I would say just know your worth and your time that you're dedicating to this and the return on investment of the finances, emotions, energy that you're putting out to working with that client. We like to offer out 50% to the co-broke. It does not happen if someone on our team represents the buyer. Rhonda and myself as the listing agents for our clients won't represent the buyer. We'll have them work with one of the agents on our team. So we can basically be, a bulldog for our client. We can have someone on our team be the representative for the other person. That, again, that's a personal decision for us all to make, and something for our clients on the listing end to decide if that's what their level of comfort is as well. But most situations are going to be that the listing agent is not also representing the buyer. However, there are times it happens. And if you're really proactive with prospecting and marketing for buyers for your listings, it's going to happen more frequently than the average person. So for us, it's probably in the 30 to 35% of our listings range ends up being that we represent the buyer as well in terms of our team representing them. Again, not Rhonda or myself. And the average agent is maybe closer to 15 or 20% of the time.
I choose to do the same thing. I don't try to work both sides of the coin because of liabilities. I do it for liability purposes, and I don't feel comfortable defending both agents. Both sides of the coin. So I have my partner that he would take either side. If I'm a listing agent, he'll take the buyer's side. And I recommend him as a representative of the other side. I do it for liability purposes.
I've also had two buyers making an offer on the same property and competing against one another. And I've had them work with someone on my team rather than me for that specific property. And if I wasn't on a team, I'd have them work with somebody in my office for that property. And they don't need to get the full commission. And I don't need to only get a 25% referral. They might only get 25% because all they're doing is negotiating for that one specific property. They're not having to do anything else. They probably didn't even show it. So, for me, it's a way to, like Roland said, remove the liability and above that, have the highest value for the client. But it can happen on the buyer side too, that you might have to, you might look at referring somebody out for that specific property because you're representing two individuals on it. Roland, your question earlier, and then we'll get to Valerie, was were you asking if it's common for a buyer's agent to try to negotiate the co-broke commission with the listing agent?
Yeah, I would just want to see what your intake was on that.
I think it's becoming in Rhode Island more common because more agents are not offering out 50% of the commission. We're noticing that on the closing disclosures, mainly after the fact or from whispers from other people experiencing it. So I do think it's becoming more common, and that's why it's important to be able to have that conversation with your client and get a buyer representation agreement signed. Because if a lot of agents now in Rhode Island are taking 5 or 6% and only giving out 2%, well, if we can ensure that we're at least getting, let's say, the 2.5% minimum that we're looking to represent a buyer for, then if we can't get that 0.5% from the listing agent, if they don't agree to that, then we know that our client will, the client has been comfortable with doing that. And that's a conversation we had from the get-go. And like Rhonda said, prior to looking at that property, just making sure they're aware of that, or prior to making the offer, making sure that they're aware of it, because it would theoretically cost them a little bit more for that property, potentially.
And if you haven't had that conversation, like Sam said, the buyer's agreement gives you the opportunity to have the conversation before it happens and not talking about it. And then you come up into that situation and now you have to go back to your buyer and say, oh, by the way, right, this they're only offering 1% on this commission on this, right? And they are like, I don't even know what that means. Like, we didn't even talk about your compensation, right? You told me that that it's free for me to have a buyer's agent. And so now you're creating this, now they're just kind of like, they're going to be confused. So by having that conversation up front and helping them to understand, they can make the decision if they want to see that property or not. And again, it's mindset. It's a limiting belief on our part that we believe buyers don't want to pay us, and that we believe that buyers don't think that we deserve to get paid. The buyer may come back and say, oh my God, of course I'm going to pay you the extra 1% or 1.5%. You deserve that. You've been running around with me for a year looking at properties. Of course I'm going to pay you, right? It's our limiting belief that we think, they're probably not going to want to pay me. So there's options for it. We can ask the seller for it. We can negotiate it for ourselves, or they might say, you know what, that's property that I'm kind of on the fence about it. Forget it. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to look at that property. And it also opens the door for you to talk about for sale by owners as well, because we don't have a listing agreement with a for sale by owner, right? So that way, and that's a great segue into that conversation. Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, there might be a property that's for sale by owner that may come up on the property, right? Most times, 99% of the time, the for sale by owner is willing to pay some sort of commission to the buyer's agent. But in the event we find the perfect property and it's for sale by owner and they're not offering a commission, I just want to talk with you about my fee for service is 2.5%. So in that situation, I'm going to ask you to pay my fee from your side. Right. And so then that's a great way to just kind of broach the subject with them and to talk about it for the for sale by owner as you get more comfortable.
And
All right. So
also,
Valerie, go ahead, Sam.
If there is a situation, the buyer is going to have to pay a portion of the commission. First, obviously look at the other side paying it, or the listing agent coming up with the difference. But if you need to, rather than the buyer paying it out of pocket, just like their closing costs, you can make it a closing credit. So if the property is $500,000 list price, you want to make a full asking offer, but they're going to have to pay an extra 1%. Make it a 505 offer with 5,000 back, because they're going to have to pay that 1% for your commission, and then the remainder is paid by the listing agent and the seller. Valerie.
Yeah, you pretty much answered all my questions, but in the beginning, before all these questions came out, it was, okay, so I have a contract and the buyer said, we agreed that you would pay me 2%. And now the seller is only paying 1%. Well, we owe our brokerage that 2% because we have the signed legal contract that said we were getting 2% on this transaction. So we as agents, tell me if I'm wrong, don't have the ability to negotiate without going back to our market center and saying, hey, I know the contract said 2, I'm only going to get 1, or like, how do we work around that?
I think speak with your team leader and broker. I know here we'd have the autonomy to make decisions within the business and tweak the representation agreements.
Right.
So we are able to make those decisions, but I don't want to speak for every market center or every brokerage.
Yeah.
Bottom line is if they sign the contract at 2%, that's what we should expect to get either from the buyer or the seller.
Yes, and I do want to change the language you use. You said we owe the brokerage 2%. No, they owe the brokerage 2%.
Yes. Yes.
They owe
But
us
it's
2%.
our responsibility that to collect the monies that says on the contract. It's also
Correct.
part of our job, right? Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Great. No, great question. Go ahead, Marian, and then we're going to wrap up and get you all on your way by noon. So go ahead, Marian.
Okay. I just, for some reason, I got a little confused. So let's say I'm the listing agent, right? And I have exclusive representation, 100% exclusive representation. So my client is gonna pay me 4%, which I'm gonna split that with my broker, right?
You may split it with the co-broke first. If you're receiving a 4% commission for the listing, you may be offering 2% out of that 4 to whoever brings in the buyer.
Oh, okay. So even though I have the exclusive representation, I offer in the MLS, I am offering like, let's say 1% to the co-broke. Oh, okay. So okay, now it makes sense.
Yes, but Marian, although there are no standard commissions, I'm going to highly encourage that you don't offer 1%. I think you're going to piss off a lot of people if you
Yeah.
do. And it's going to end up hurting other clients in terms of you bringing in an offer, because those agents would then say, I don't want to work with Miriam. She's only offering out 1%. So
point.
I would, at a minimum, always be looking at offering whatever you're seeing the average in your market. And then, keeping into account how you value your time and value proposition. Like I said, for us, there is no standard, but we value ourselves as listing agents at 6 and offer out half of it to whoever brings the buyer, because we think that's extremely valuable as well.
Yes.
We would never, we don't take listings at 4%. What we'll do is, if we're working with a seller and they want to negotiate the commission, we choose it's the right opportunity for us, we'll do 5%. And then if we end up within our team representing the buyer as well, in that case, we would look at doing 4%, but we don't want to offer out 2%. And we know that we are valued at minimum at 2.5% in terms of the investment that we're making into the listing. So we can't, and we do, like I said, we do 50% of it. So we can't do 4, we can't do 4.5. It needs to be 5. At the same time, if we're receiving both ends of the commission as a team, because our buyer's agents do pay a split to our team, we certainly will make sure that we're not being greedy. We're looking to get the best possible situation for our client. But we do have certain expectations on what the compensation is for all parties involved, to make sure that we're keeping up our business to where our goals are, and the return on our investment of time and energy and finances, along with keeping up our relationships with co-brokes and other brokerages and in-house as well.
Your reputation means a lot, especially in this business, because that's all you got is your reputation. And if you start creating a reputation that you pay less than market value, then people are not going to show you houses, and you're hurting your client. So yeah, I agree with Sam that you should always. Like I said, I don't work with less than 6%, because I offer not only value, I work very hard for my clients, and I think I'm worth the 6%. That way I can give up 3% in that case.
And Miriam, you may have been using those numbers just for conversation standpoint, and if you are, that's fine. If you were saying that as an actual example, that's where I would certainly look at making recommending an adjustment to keep up relationships with co-brokes. But I do want to bring that up. If it was just for conversation standpoint, that's fine, but it is something to keep in mind.
And I'm glad that I told them that number 1%, because it creates some kind of like a sensitive agents, plus it's very important to build that reputation, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's very important. No, I haven't, but now I kind of appreciate the way I sold a house, and I was thinking that the agent. Today is my 62 days actually as a Keller Williams agent, but I sold the house before, and now I'm kind of like, I deeply appreciate my agent, that the one that actually sold the house, because of this explanation.
Something else I want to bring up, because I'm hearing a number used consistently when anyone right now is speaking about a commission that they look at for listings. We had at one point about 35 people on this call. I would imagine out of those 35, at least 30 are newer agents, people that are within their first several months in the business. And because of that, I have heard the 4% used a lot. And again, there is no standard commission. I have heard a lot of individuals on this call though mention, if I do 4% for a listing, and if I see my value at 6, and others as newer agents maybe have this belief that because they're newer, they're not as valuable, and they're at 4. I'd be really curious what that person sees as the difference between our 2% there. And I understand experience is a critical factor, but what's the difference? If that person, if Miriam is sitting right next to me and she's asking me questions as a mentor every step of the way, why is she not valued closer to 6 as well? there is going to be a bit of a lapse maybe between what I'm able to offer at this point in my business and what Marian is able to offer. But Marian has access to me, and Marian has access to other agents in our market center. And I'm just using you as an example in this, saying your name here. But I would certainly make sure that all of you are keeping that in mind. Just because you may be newer agents in the business doesn't mean you're any less valuable, because you have relationships with all of these other agents that can bring that experience that you don't yet have.
Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap us up. This is a really good conversation. But as far as commission goes, we can end up going way over talking about what we're offering as listing agents for the commission for today's discussion. And tomorrow we're going to talk about when the seller. And so this conversation actually can get dived into deeper tomorrow, talking about working with listing agents and talking about your commission and how you're going to set up your value proposition. For the purpose of today in the buyer consultation, just know, review your buyer agreement form and just know that you can talk about your compensation within that form. So, and if anybody, Sam and I we're business partners, we have a team. If anybody does want to talk to us further as well, and we are always happy. We both came we strategize and talk with you further about this and help you through some of these conversations and coach you through them if you want to do that offline. So please know that. The last thing I just want to talk about is our daily success system. And so just making sure that all of us, right? What is the daily success system? Can somebody tell me what that is comprised of? I can bring this slide up if we need.
10
I'm
conversations.
sure we don't at this point. Who can tell me? 10 conversations. What's next? 10 contacts in our database, right? Tags, notes, right? What else? Ten notes. Thank you, Ellen, for the
10 handwritten notes, which you said could be
handwritten notes.
Yes, like a thank you for,
Yep.
I did want to
Handwritten notes can be anything. It can be to your,
that's a handwritten note to
that's
my
right.
the lady at Dunkin' Donuts because I needed the coffee before I went for an appointment. Thank you. So that was practice in doing a handwritten note. So guys, I want to
Love
do
it.
with
Love
that.
it. Great. And then what about on Facebook? What is the it's 5551? Am I right on that? 1051? 10 what? 10 what?
10 likes.
10 likes. Yep. 10 likes on posts. 5
responses on posts.
5 comments. Yep. 5 meaningful comments, not awesome or terrific. 5 meaningful comments, 5 words or more, and tag the person's name in the comment you are leaving. And 1 post or 1 direct message to somebody. And then doing some sort of enrichment, right? Go and take a command class on smart plans. Go and take a command class on opportunities. Go and take a command class on creating your buyer consultation and then create it. So if you need that, most of us have tech trainers in our office. If you don't have a tech trainer, check out the 66-day challenge. And again, if any of you would like to, reach out afterwards, we're happy to talk with you and answer any questions that you have and tell you how we do things here at Alpern and Messenborg. Okay, we have 2 minutes. Any last final words? Can say I appreciate getting to spend the last 2 days with all of you. I appreciate your attention and sticking with us and listening to us. If there's anything that we can do to help build your business, we are happy to do so and are excited for all of you as you continue down. You only have, I think, 7 classes left for Ignite, I think. I think you're coming to or maybe 6 left after today. So you're coming to the end of Ignite. Bold is coming to our market center in October. If you want to attend the free step, it's on October 12th. Reach out to me and I'll give you the details. But appreciate all of you and all of your time. Roland, thanks for joining us from the West Coast. And if you guys have any other questions, just please reach out. Sam, any last words?
Just be confident, stick with it.
Thanks from California. Thank you, all of you. And Jason, I will send you that information as soon as I can. Today it's busy for me, but I'll send you that information you asked me.
Thank you, Roland.
So
Thank you, Sam.
I barely hear you guys, so I'm gonna log out and have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Rhonda.
You too. Everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Thank you, Sam and Rhonda. This was awesome. Really
Thanks,
like your
Ellen.
classes. You do a great job. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Bye, David.
Bye, have a great day.
Bye.
Echo.